So life has given me lemons, but they're all mine, so I'm not complaining. I'm gonna sell so much lemonade, well, someday maybe, if it stops raining. I can't wait till I hit my stride. For now, I better just stay inside. Today stuff's getting upsetting. We could use a drink and all that things better, get better. I don't know what we're doing, but we're doing our best.
Guys, are you in the pool right now? Are you in the car? Is it air conditioned? I hope it's air conditioned. I'm currently out of the country doing my own thing. And so Caissie and I were talking because I was like, I could try to, and Caissie was like, busy, just focus on your kid and the school. Let's do a thing we haven't done yet, but feels like we should have done. And maybe it'll be really interesting to people. It will be for sure interesting to me. Because I don't know if I'm even going to remember these moments.
It's true.
How many podcasts have we done?
Oh my goodness. I have truly lost count. But it's more than 100.
Well, it's definitely more than 100. I remember our 100th. It has to be close to 150.
Probably close to 150. Yeah. I would truly have to count because we don't number them. So
Like the assholes we are. March to the beat of our own drummers.
But we've done over 2 years worth of podcasts.
Almost 3.
Yeah.
This is 3.
Going on 3.
This is 3.
Yeah.
Fuck. Well, in those 3 years, we've talked to so many people who are extraordinary and cool. And sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. That's wild. That person was on our podcast. And we wanted to like take a look at, guys, it's a clip show. It's a clip show. It's a clip show where we listen, take a look, and take a look with our ears and listen to some of our very favorite pivot episodes. I loved chatting with our guest, Glennon Doyle. We were all really excited about it. If you're one of the 4 people in this country who haven't bought and read Untamed, Glennon's best-selling book, you should probably pick it up.
So good.
You know, it's a veil. And it's been on the bestseller list for, I think now 45 weeks. It's worth it. And she had a lot of interesting things to say, and we really enjoyed it. So please listen. I just want to kick it off because 44 weeks, the book came into the world, was birthed into the world. 44 weeks ago was a fairly different looking place.
Mm-hmm.
And you feel to me like someone who's quite prolific. And when you start to write, you just write. Is that true?
No, writing is really hard for me.
Oh, really?
Oh, good. That makes me so happy.
Yeah. It's really miserable, actually. I actually keep a quote on my desk that says, writers are people for whom writing is harder than it is for everyone else. Like
yes.
That
great.
Is, and especially with stuff like Untamed, there's things that I can write easily. Untamed was not one of them. It felt like the kind of thing I've been trying to say since I was a kid. And then I needed to get it all into this one book. So it felt very intense and difficult, actually.
But how long was the process for you to write the book?
Well, just the writing of it, maybe 2.5 years.
Oh, wow. Okay. And then editing was another year or 6 months?
Maybe 9 months of editing. Yeah. And then like a lifetime of living through all of those things and trying to figure out what all the hell they all meant, you know. 44 years.
44. It took you 44. But I guess for the book to come out, you know, about a year and a half ago, is that right?
March 10th was the day this was. It came out. I was on the road kicking off the book tour.
That's right. When COVID happened. Right.
I had to cancel the book tour.
Everybody's life was like starting in March. Like,
Yeah.
everybody was like, I had just started a new job. I was supposed to go to Paris on March 16th.
That's right. I mean, our team was sitting in a hotel room. People were crying. I mean, my team is really just like my sister and my wife, and then like my three best friends. So everyone had been preparing for this for so long, and people were just like crying in the hotel room because we were like, we had to shut it all down. Like
I remember your decision making and following the journey of like telling everybody that the book tour was canceled and people were crushed. And I felt like in the moment I was a very early, I was on COVID early. Like I was like, this is going to be a big deal. And I know that you had some people that were like, why do this?
Yeah. I mean, because it was early. We canceled pretty early. Things weren't being canceled yet.
You were one of the first. I mean, you canceled before Coachella, Glennon.
I mean, let me tell you something. I freaking love canceling things. So this wasn't like every time I make a plan, I just immediately start waiting, just hoping that someone will cancel the plan. So like, and then I have friends with, it's just like a game of chicken. Like I'm waiting till they cancel on me and they're waiting till I cancel on them. So each of us can take credit for not canceling. So this was a little bit, this wasn't like that though.
No.
This felt really, really sad. And I remember I was sitting in a hotel room with Abby because there was like half of our team was like, hell no, we're going. This is ridiculous. Like it's ridiculous. Nobody's canceling anything. And then I was sitting with Abby and I was like, look, I can't cancel this. This is the most important thing I've ever made. And she was like, because she's like always doing the right thing. She's the Captain America of the right thing, you know? And she said, well, is this the most important thing you've made, or is the community that you've made the most important thing you've ever made? Because you could be risking their health by inviting them. So that was the moment that I was like, okay, we have to
Very wise. That's so wise. We should say for people listening, in case they don't know, Abby's your wife.
Yes.
And you might know Abby from being a soccer star.
Yes.
Yes.
I was just literally making a face right now because I was like, who doesn't know this? Who's listening to this podcast?
Just in case.
I was trying to imagine what the crossover that, I mean, in my head, anyone who would follow me knows who you are, Glennon.
I don't know.
I don't either. Well, I don't know either. I'm just saying. In my head, that's the way.
I mean, it's my hope. Everyone knows Abby. I think that is a thing that seems true in my life. Like, I mean, if you guys knew the amount of times where, I mean, it's been a little bit better since COVID, since we can't go anywhere, but my whole life going anywhere was like someone approaching me and me like, you know, trying to like get on my humble face because, you know, here this person is clearly, you know, recognizing me and then coming up to me and saying, can I get a picture? And me saying, of course. And then they hand me their phone so I can take a picture of Abby and that person. That's my whole life. We were trying to look humble and then realizing, I should just be humble because this is not actually happening.
Yeah. I mean, that's always great advice, by the way, to just always just, let's just enter every situation, assuming that they want you to take the camera and take a picture of them with someone else.
Of them.
Of them. Because it's never going to be a cute look when you like try to pose and they're like, just me and my wife.
What are you doing? Ew.
Well, obviously, the book, that must have been like a pivot that you all had to make in your brain. And so how did you regroup? So much of the book, you talk about the thing that like, I feel very deeply, I know very deeply. It's a thing that has really come into very sharp focus for me in recent years, but that the knowing, you call it the knowing. People have different ideas of what it is. For me, it's like a lightning bolt and I just know something that is the next right thing to do. So when you cancel the book tour, maybe you didn't have the knowing, but Abby did, thank God. And then what was the next thing in your head of like, how am I going to make sure my community is supported? How am I going to make sure this labor of love and creativity is supported? Where did you go?
So the great part was I was like, okay, we'll just pretend this didn't happen. And then we'll just do this later. Right. Oh,
you were going to hold it?
Yeah, because for sure. Well, no, I mean, it was out, but like the whole celebration.
Right. Oh, right. Like the tour.
because, clearly this will all be over in like a few months is what I thought. And so most of my life, although writing and speaking is a big deal for me, most of my life is togetherizing. Like most of what we do on a daily basis is our nonprofit. So we knew that we were going to be just slammed out of our minds because we are basically like first responders to families in crisis. And all COVID was predicted to be was like one long situation where families were in crisis. So we just kept saying, okay, we felt like we were in promotion mode and we just kept saying, switch to service. We started working our butts off at Together Rising to try to help where we could. And then I was like, how am I going to show up for people, for my community? Because everyone was scared shitless, obviously, which was kind of, you guys, I am a person who's dealt with depression and anxiety my whole life.
Hi. Welcome to all of us. Yes.
Okay. Yes.
A young girl in America, depressed and anxiety ridden.
Yeah.
Tell me why, Glennon.
Every time somebody asks me, well, why do little girls get eating disorders? I'm like, are you freaking serious? Because they're paying attention.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
Abby actually noticed. She said, it's weird. You seem calmer since COVID came. Like I was the calmest one in my family and still am about the COVID thing. And it was so baffling to us for a while. And I think I figured out, because I've been saying my whole life, I've been Chicken Little my whole life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. My whole life I've been going, this shit's going to get bad. Like,
yes.
Are you all paying attention? Because this shit is bad. And everybody's like, more medicine. And I'm like, but maybe you're just not paying attention. And then the sky really did fall. Mm-hmm. And I was like, how are you liking now?
Yeah.
So I felt like I had been developing all along the skills of being scared all the time and still figuring out how to show up and like do your work and help each other and comfort each other, which makes people like me and you guys like really helpful in times like this. So I started doing these morning meetings, which, by the way, was something that I used to do with my third graders because I used to teach elementary school. I still feel like I'm a elementary school teacher who's just on this weird hiatus. But my favorite time of the day with third graders was when we sat down in the beginning of the day and didn't do any school stuff. We just talked about like being human and how hard it is to be a kid and what was going on at home. And we had this little song that went, it's morning meeting time. It's morning meeting time. So for some reason I started doing morning meetings with my community online. And then the morning meetings started taking off like crazy. And then Untamed took off from the morning meetings. That's what my whole team thinks, because none of us know how the hell this happened.
As somebody who watched it from the outside, I think that also the book is the exact right book for this exact right moment, right? Mm-hmm. For everyone in so many different ways. Don't you think? But those morning meetings were really special, especially in the beginning where people were like, what do we do? Like, what are we doing? I can't fucking homeschool my kid and there's so much laundry. And I feel like it was just like a very calming, safe place and then a way to like refocus.
And we had everything taken away, all our people and all just, you don't realize how meaningful it is to just nod to someone in public and say, hey, or talk to someone in line at the store. And I remember that last shopping trip before everything shut down. And I remember thinking to myself, like, this is going to be the last time I'm doing this for a long time. And some guy in front of me was like, I forgot frozen pizzas. I'm going to run and get frozen pizzas. And he turned around and said, do you want frozen pizzas? And I was like, yeah, get me 2 frozen pizzas. And I was like, this is going to be the last time that I'm having like just a little chit chat in a grocery store line with somebody for a long time.
Like a weird interaction with a stranger that you'll never probably see again.
Yeah. And so you were giving people like a water cooler or like a town square to come in that moment when we all thought that it had evaporated forever.
I really think one of the things too is that we all got to sit quietly, like in our bodies, but like in our houses. Usually I have to go to work. I have to go to the gym. I have to go to the store. I have to drop the kids off at school. Not me. I'm talking about other people. But everybody has something to do that can distract them from whatever's going on and like inside of them. And I think that the 2 hours that you used to get ready in the morning are now used to sit with yourself. And I think that that's one of the reasons, obviously, social justice books took off, but also a really good reason why Untamed took off.
Glennon, I wanted to ask you, Caissie and I had so many conversations, and then in the Busy Tonight Writers Room, we talked about how to be subversive in our activism and in getting across messages that, maybe people that wouldn't maybe be open to yet. And storytelling was like the only way you can like change people. Mm-hmm. And so I guess I'm curious how much of what Shantira is saying specifically about the book, like the cover, and like how much of it did you think like, let's make this a little bit like approachable for people who are like, I'm not going to read a feminist manifesto, a book about becoming, an activist. I'm not buying my wife for Christmas the book that makes her leave me.
Oh, my favorite review ever is from this dude who writes just interesting book, 5 stars. Don't let your wife read it.
Oh, wow. Oh, yes. That's wild.
Such complicated feelings about that issue because since for the last 5 years, I mean, there, articles have been written about me that say I'm a Trojan horse. Like I come in looking one way and then say other things. I think that's what they mean. But the more I think about it, the more pissed off it makes me because what I think they're saying is that you look like, I think it's a little bit of misogyny in that.
Oh, yeah, 100%. For sure.
I think just saying like, you look like you should be stupid.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're saying.
Yeah. So it's not a Trojan horse. It's like, you're just a misogynist. You're just shocked that I could have a cover that has me pink in it and that I could be full of like really good ideas. That anybody who should be taken seriously should look a certain way. It's what I love about you so much, Busy. It's like, thanks. Your absolute refusal to hold on to whatever you consider like your look, your presentation to the world, mm-hmm. and also be brilliant and badass and like not compromise any of it.
I guess for me personally, I have seen the thing that has been like put on me forever, which is like, at the dinner party where, the businessman who has like too many degrees from Harvard suddenly looks over and then like really looks at you because you've said something and they're like smart. And yes, exactly. Glennon, because you've been at that table. Exactly. I guess I've used that as part of my superpower in the last 5-10 years. And part of what I want is I want to dismantle the patriarchy and white supremacy, obviously, but I want to get these women who are just trapped in these cages out of these fucking cages, and at least a little bit. And I'm just going to tell you, they're not going to do it by picking up a book off the shelf that genders
that I wrote. To be completely honest.
Totally. So I just feel like, I don't know, like for me, it's not about being a Trojan horse. I mean, that's like being perpetrated on us by other people.
I live in a very strangely conservative town. I live in Naples, Florida.
I know. I'm so shocked that you live there, and then I understood why you do, but that does seem wild.
I'm from Tallahassee, Florida. And then when I found out you were from Naples, I was like, all right, you're working hard down there. Sometimes like you stay there and you do the work. And if I would have stayed in Tallahassee, I could have done a lot of work. But like sometimes you got to leave. I'm not super sure why you're leaving, but sometimes the work becomes too big for where you are. So like when I found out you were in Naples, I was like, you're doing a lot of work. For sure.
Well, and life is too big. And your kids, I mean, Abby and I are married. We have a kid who's gay. There's just this, Chase came to me one day and said, this place does not love us.
No.
And I was like, that for my kid to say that to me, just like, there's so many parts in Untamed where it's like, these doors aren't even locked. Like I can leave this religion. I can leave this marriage. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, wait, I can sure as hell leave the city.
Yeah. Well, that's what, I mean, that's the pivot I just made. And it was mine was not my kids telling me with their words, but I had that thing where I dropped in and I was like, oh, this is toxic for our kids and for me personally. And if we stay here, it's bad. We got to get the fuck out right now. And we left 48 hours later. Well, we really did it. We really solved all the problems. No,
We solved everything today.
The world's fine now, you guys.
We
fixed
did
it.
it. Also, I wrote for the ESPYs one time. Is that an ESPY in the back? I swear.
I won it, Cynthia. I did. I won it.
That is an ESPY, right? I was like,
Yeah. You guys, real quick before we go, I'll tell you this. The night that Abby won that ESPY was when she got the Icon Award, and it was like Peyton and Kobe actually. And
it was your first night together, right?
I was hiding back in the hotel room. I was hiding. We just had sex for the first time. My whole life was like, oh, this is life. Like, it was the best day of my entire life the day she won that ESPY, but I couldn't go with her because nobody knew about us. So I was just waiting. I was sitting in the hotel room shaking.
Wow.
That is a gay ass ESPY, and that's why it called to me. So
you felt it. You felt its power.
I felt that gay fucking ESPY. I felt it.
I renamed it Shantira forevermore. That will be the gay ass ESPY.
The gay ass ESPY.
ESPY. I love that part in the book though too. I just love I love how you wrote so honestly about your love, like how you guys fucking did it for the first time, like how that all happened. Like it's great. I love it. It's
the only thing I love more than a gay ass ESPY is a late in life lesbian. Love it. Love it.
I mean, that's the quote.
And here's the thing. I'm not trying to put no labels on anybody, but hey, man, if you want to leave your husband for a cool soccer player, fuck it up. Fuck it up. Fuck it up.
That just made me choke. That was amazing.
Love it. We love to see it. Thank you so much, Glennon. This was the most fun.
You know, some people say that hair care is the new skincare. And you know what I feel very lucky to have in my life? I'm holding one up right now. This is my little Kitsch scrunchie that I use when I wash my face. I know it's not going to damage my hair. I love Kitsch products because they've created game-changing essentials that I swear by, that Caissie swears by, that most importantly, Birdie swears by.
Yes, whatever your budget, your skin type, your hair type, Kitsch believes you deserve a little indulgence at affordable prices, morning, noon, and night.
Satin pillowcases, the time-saving towels, the scrunchies, hair ties, the eye masks. You probably saw at some point the heatless satin curling rollers that went viral on TikTok. Say goodbye to heat damage. This is the original one. They're still the best heatless curlers. I'm obsessed. Don't settle for any knockoffs, guys. Get the ones that started the craze.
The latest Kitsch viral craze are rice water shampoo bars, which I love for travel because I always get so much anxiety at TSA that I have too many liquids on me. I feel like a criminal. But the shampoo bar, it's not a liquid. And by the way, I turned on a bunch of my high school friends to it, gave them our code. They bought these shampoo bars, conditioner bars, the rice water bars, and they all love them. Everybody says their hair looks 1,000 times better between washings. And I gotta say, I agree. Plus, right now, for a limited time, you can live the Barbie dream life with the Barbie by Kitsch collection featuring Kitsch's best-selling satin pillowcases in iconic Barbie pink, the color of the summer.
Guys, go check out the website. And you're gonna get yourself some cute things. You're gonna get your friends some cute things. You're gonna fill your cart on up. Because also right now, Kitsch is offering 30% off your entire order at mykitsch.com/best. That's right, 30% off anything and everything at mykitsch, spelled mykitsch.com/best. One more time. mykitsch.com/best for 30% off your order.
Oh my God, Busy. Do you know what I read? An estimated 5 billion plastic hand soap and cleaning bottles are thrown away each year.
Oh my God. That is very disturbing. Disturbing because the products that we use every single day are ultimately contaminating our water supply, whether or not you think you're recycling them. Here's the deal. Chances are you're actually generating hundreds of microplastics that we end up ingesting. Thankfully, lots of, people are trying to figure it out. And Blue Land set out to do something about it by eliminating the need for single-use plastic in the products we reach for the most. Hand soap, glass cleaner, multi-surface cleaner. The idea was always simple. They offer endlessly refillable cleaning products with a beautiful, cohesive design that looks great on your counter.
Which I know I'm shallow. I do care about the planet. I care about how beautiful the planet is. My kitchen is on the planet and I like it to look beautiful as well. So I don't like ugly, shouty bottles hanging out in my house.
You just fill your bottles with water, drop in the tablets, wait for them to dissolve. You never have to grab bulky cleaning supplies on your grocery run, which I have to say, having moved to New York I don't want to eat plastic, okay? Sure.
Yeah.
I want things to be better for the environment, of course. But honestly, the best thing for me is like not having to lug a bunch of cleaning supplies
and
when I need them.
I'm
sorry. And store them. I have no room. And so I have these little like tablets in a drawer. When my cleaning supplies are out, when my window cleaner's out, I drop a tablet in, water.
That's it.
Done. Refills start at just $2.25. And you can set up a subscription or you can buy in bulk. Anyway, I love Blue Land so much. It has changed the way that I clean and the way that I feel about cleaning and that I feel good about it.
Blue Land has a special offer for our listeners right now. You can get 15% off your first order by going to blueland.com/best. You won't want to miss this. Blueland.com/best for 15% off. That's blueland.com/best to get 15% off. You're not going to regret it.
I just was talking about how much I have been working and how exhausted I am. Our guest today is literally one of the most hardworking people ever, right? And she's out there making it happen, putting herself at risk. And she's been doing it legit since she was 18 years old, 19 years old. A child.
Yes.
An actual child. Whereas I was like, it was so hard to be on Freaks and Geeks. She was like, I was in Kosovo, which is like, that's true. That is a true story. We were so honored to have Lisa Ling as a guest on our pod. Hi, Lisa.
Hi.
How are you?
Thanks for having me on.
I'm
for
so
being
happy to
here.
have you on. Thanks for being here.
I'm really excited.
Well, Lisa, I've been a fan of yours since I was a freshman in high school.
Oh yeah, you watched? Okay, what state did you grow up in?
I grew up in Arizona.
Okay, we were big in Arizona.
And Channel 1 was was like the greatest 20 minutes, 15? How long was it?
It was 12 minutes to be exact, with 2 minutes of commercial.
Oh my God. So for people at home who didn't have Channel 1 was a news program, like current events news program that was put in certain public high schools in exchange for they put televisions in every homeroom.
Exactly. It was in, middle schools and high schools, public and private, but the schools all got television equipment and broadcast equipment. So, all stuff that is completely irrelevant now, but you had to watch 12 minutes. You had to watch 12 minutes of a news broadcast in order to get all that stuff in your school.
Which then also had ads. Right.
It had ads.
So
exactly.
it was right.
What were
So
the
it was like,
ads for?
like, teen stuff, Noxzema and tampons and whatever, right?
But Busy, it was so controversial because it had ads, even though now every kid has a phone, right? And it's just like it's the cold hard sell every second of the day. But yet when Channel 1 was in schools airing this news broadcast, it was super controversial because it had 2 minutes of advertisements.
So,
For sure. Now schools have like Taco Bells in them, don't they?
Yeah.
Totally.
Well, yeah.
Ironically,
Totally.
at the time, my school did have a Taco Bell in it.
Well, that's why they didn't care about those
They didn't
commercials
care.
at
And
all.
Pizza Hut. We had Pizza Hut and Taco Bell.
I'm jealous.
We had Pizza Hut and Chick-fil-A, but no sauce.
Ooh.
They gave us a bunch
Whoa.
of chicken with no sauce, and I was like, "Why are you doing this to us?"
I'm jealous. I just had different shades of brown food every day at my school.
Same.
Oh yeah.
What I would have done for a Taco Bell.
I know. It was actually really nice. A bean and cheese burrito still hits the spot.
And of course, like we all know, the nation knows and loves Lisa from when she joined The View.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
That was when
Yeah.
I was like, this show is for me. This show, The View, is for me. I like this woman.
Thank you. It was funny because I'd been on Channel 1 for 7 years, traveling all over the world and covering stories. In fact, when I got the call that I got the job on The View, I was covering the refugee crisis in Kosovo.
Oh my gosh.
I was like 25 or 26 years old. And then in 2 weeks, I was sitting at that table on The View after like having covered all this stuff. And the first question Meredith Vieira asked me on my first day on live TV was, "So are you a virgin?" I'm like,
What?
it's The View, right? So
It's a good thing that there was no Twitter. That would have been
wait, Lisa, what year was that? What year did you join The View?
99,
remember?
right?
yes, it was 99, 98 or 99. Yeah.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And
I graduated from high school in 97.
Thanks, Busy. Thanks.
No, but you're not that. I mean, you're only a couple years older than me, but in that classic like teen thing, you seemed like an adult because you were covering crises all over the world for me when I was a teenager. You and Anderson Cooper, who also was on Channel 1, guys, just FYI. And then when you got The View, I realized like, oh, you really aren't that much older than I am. But then by that time I was like 20. So
Everybody on TV is a grown up. Everybody
Yeah.
on TV is a grown up. That's what happened, especially if you were doing news.
But I'm just so curious, like post college, and you wanted to be, and you are a journalist, right?
Right.
What was the dream?
I guess the dream when I was a kid, because I grew up, in a totally non-diverse community, and the only Asian person on television who was kind of high profile was Connie Chung.
Mhm.
When I was a kid, do you know who Connie? You guys know who Connie Chung is.
yeah, love
Okay.
Connie. She's my hero.
Before we even go on, everyone out there listening, look up. There's an iconic Connie Chung photo of her being the only woman in a newsroom.
I have it posted on my Instagram, at least Lisa Ling Instagram, if you want to find it. But
Yeah.
it is an amazing photo.
It
but
truly
the only reason
is.
I asked if you know her is because I have met young people who do not know who Oprah is right now. So, because like,
Oh no.
kids aren't watching TV. So
I just turned to dust in my chair.
It's like
I know.
when Paul McCartney did that song with Kanye and Rihanna, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, that old man is gonna be so popular. That's cool
Totally.
for him. That's so cool
Totally.
that old man got that."
Makes me so sad.
Totally. But yeah, so as a kid, I wanted to be Connie Chung. But then when I started working for Channel 1, because they hired me as this young correspondent and started sending me out to crazy places in the world to cover stories, I started to realize I want to be in the field, and I want to travel, and I want to immerse myself in different worlds and different cultures. I mean, I was really young when I was doing this, like in my late teens, early 20s. And it's kind of wild that I'm still doing that kind of stuff, more than 20 years later. But I love being in worlds that are just really different from mine.
I mean, you're so good at it, and you like found, I don't know, I think even if you're 19, 20 years old and you find the thing that speaks to you, you know, you got to keep pursuing that thing.
Well, that's why I always tell, whenever I talk to college kids, I always tell them before they jump into a job, if you can travel, or live somewhere that's different from where you grew up and different from where you go to college. Because it's just, to me, it's so life-changing when you have that experience when you're young. It totally just expands your horizons in such profound ways. And that's like the biggest piece of advice I always give people, young people.
How did you start working for Channel One how old were you?
I was 18 when I started working for Channel One. And because it was seen in schools, they wanted like young looking correspondents to come and be like cute-ish reporters and anchors. And over the years, Channel One decided that they really wanted to send its reporters out to cover stories. So when I first started at Channel One, I was kind of this like, you know, I had tons of makeup on, sitting at a desk reading news because I looked like every other, 16-year-old in high school. but then when they decided, okay, we're actually going to go out and try and report stories, they brought in all these producers who had worked at all the networks. And it's funny because Anderson Cooper was a fact checker at Channel One. And
wow,
he went to Vietnam to go do some to teach English. And he ended up filming a lot of the stuff that he was doing in Vietnam. And it was so good that the head of Channel One decided, I'm going to put you on air. Like he went from fact checker to on air correspondent because the stuff that he was reporting or the stuff that he had collected in Vietnam was so good and so unlike what we were seeing on television. It was just like first person reporting. So that's kind of how like Anderson had a lot to do with Channel One changing from just being these like 90210 looking reporters to like real to correspondents out in the field.
Wow.
Who still look like they could be on 90210.
Yeah, well, true. To be fair, Shantira, yes.
And then what was your family's reaction to like the first time that you told them you were going to go somewhere far flung to cover something?
Well, my parents got a divorce when I was really young. And so I grew up pretty independently. Like I grew up with my dad and he was always working. And so I could actually kind of disappear places and say I'm going off with my friends for a week and he wouldn't know. So for a significant part of my experience at Channel One, neither of my parents like knew too much about where I was going. I mean, I went to Afghanistan, Iran, Algeria, Colombia, Kazakhstan. And I would often tell them after the fact because I was already 18, I was starting college at USC. I wasn't living at home. So they didn't really know, so I have a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old. So I have a long way before they start like openly defying me. But I'm telling you, I mean, if they even remotely pull that shit.
Yes.
What I was going to say is that you in 1999 could get away with that to a certain extent. No one had cell phones. There was no way to track people. You had to wait for someone to call your home phone and leave a message. So it was much easier to dodge your parents in the late 90s and early 2000s than it is currently today to dodge your parents.
That's very true, but I'd still be all over them. It's funny because, I live in Los Angeles. So my husband and I joke that, when we talk about where they're going to go to college one day, even though I went to USC, I go, you know what? I'd rather them go to UCLA because USC is too far.
Oh my gosh.
Meanwhile, I'm in Afghanistan and in Iran in my
Oh my God. So you were at Channel One for a number of years with Busy Phillips watching you and then
loving you.
You
were our favorite.
Oh, thanks, Busy. That's awesome.
Truly,
Thank
truly, everybody, we all loved you and always wanted to see what crazy shit you were going to be in. You were always, because you were in the trenches, and it was just, you were incredible. And they had legitimate people. They had you and obviously Anderson Cooper and other journalists on it, but they were talking to high school kids in a way that we hadn't been sort of talked to before about current events. We were included in the story, is my point.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? As opposed to us like not having a non-participatory view, and that's like a thing that adults deal with. Now I think it's so commonplace for kids and young adults. My 12-year-old is like very, you know, socially active, and Caissie's kids have worked on political campaigns, like, you know. But back then, I feel like we were sort of left out until that came along, and then we took a more interest in it.
Well, no, I mean, I hear you, and I actually wish that there was kind of like an informational news show that was kind of geared toward a younger generation, because now it's just like I watch news and I'm just like so appalled because it's all opinion, first of all. And second,
Right.
like, even though kids have access to so much information, like, what are they really accessing? You know what I mean? Like, are they really seeking out things that are really substantive, or just kind of like swiping? Right? I don't know. My kids are really young, so I don't know.
It's tricky.
I think it's really important that we get some critical thinking curriculum worked into schooling, because there's a whole buffet of information, and we've seen what disinformation can do in this country in the past few years, especially. So I think we need to really beef up critical thinking skills.
For sure. I agree with you 100%.
But maybe you should do that show for kids. Lisa. Maybe you should produce it.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind.
So then you went from Channel 1 to The View, and Meredith Vieira is suddenly asking you in front of the entire country, are you a virgin? What was that change like?
Don't you want to know what I said? No, I'm kidding. I was already 26.
I would have lied through my teeth, by the way. I would have been like, yeah, absolutely, for sure.
Well, what if?
Yeah, if my mom was watching.
Well, I think that's what I said. I was like, well, since my dad is watching, yeah, my conservative Chinese dad.
Oh my God.
But it was, you know what? It was fun. It was totally new for me, because I'd never, on The View, you have to perform. It's in front of a live audience, and your job is to go for the laugh. It's to go for like the applause. And I had never done anything like that before. And it was definitely a rush, but at the same time, there definitely are things that I said and did for the laugh that I regret. But I don't know that people realize, like, there's that pressure to get that reaction, and it kind of just drives you. And it's that was the thing that was most challenging for me. And also, I think I always just wanted to go back into the field. I felt like I was so young at that time, in my 20s. And if I didn't go back into the field at some point, then I wouldn't get another chance to do it if I just stayed, and continued doing this job for a really long time. I worked at Channel 1 for 7 years. And when the opportunity at The View came up, I hadn't thought about like a daytime talk show, right? Like, it wasn't even something that I ever thought I would be interested in doing. But I did think, if I could get this job, because remember, it was Barbara Walters, Meredith Vieira, Star Jones, and Joy, right? I mean, you don't get more, high profile boss than Barbara Walters. So I thought, well, if I can get a job working next to her, then at some point I will better be able to possibly dictate where I go from here. So that was part of the thought process. Like, I'll go here and hopefully it'll raise my profile. I mean, I honestly thought that after The View that I would, go start working as a reporter for a network. Normally when you want to get into reporting, you have to go to a smaller market, like in Wichita, right? No disrespect to Wichita, right?
Market 111.
There you go.
Yeah.
And I thought, like, okay, if I could bypass that process, maybe after working alongside Barbara Walters, I can get a job as a network reporter, because I'll have a bigger profile. And then this opportunity came up at the National Geographic Channel to host a documentary driven series. And I was all in, but it was funny because they hired me having seen my work at Channel 1. But at the time, National Geographic was like the preeminent authority on like natural history, in the animal world. And like, that's not what I do. And so they really trusted me to do these more human stories and report on things that they didn't really do as much. So that's kind of it happened, accidentally. And Nat Geo, even though it's such a widely known brand, the Nat Geo channel was a brand new cable network with no viewership at all. So it was a bit of a transition.
That's amazing. Was Barbara Walters, when you were working alongside her, was she any type of hero to you? I mean, she's an iconic journalist herself. What was that like to be a young journalist sitting next to an iconic journalist on a talk show?
I mean, it was surreal that I was, I would look to my left and there's Barbara Walters. I mean, I can't think of a woman in broadcast journalism, right, who has been more of a pioneer than Barbara Walters. So it was so surreal. And, I mean, Barbara has always had a reputation, right, for certain things, right? And
yeah.
And I remember hearing Debbie Matenopoulos, who preceded me, she was the first young one on The View, talk about how Barbara used to kick her under the table when she would say stupid things. So Barbara, she definitely
she
did
said a lot
things.
of stupid things.
To be fair, the kicks were maybe,
You know what? She would actually also say that she said a bunch of stupid things. She's like,
Yes.
"Oh my God, I should not have been there." Anyway. But yeah, so it was. So all those things were true, but at the same time, I could see that intensity in her, and I could totally see that is a driven woman, and I could see when she asks questions of people, even when she was asking questions of me. I'm like a 26-year-old from Carmichael, California, I felt like I was going to cry every time because it was just she was so intense about it. So it was pretty
Did
funny.
she ever have to kick you?
She may have kicked me once. She didn't kick me a lot, but I definitely, I can't say I ever emerged unscathed from the kicking.
And that's the tea, everyone.
That's the tea.
The tea.
Do you remember why you got kicked?
I honestly cannot remember at this time. I may have been talk. I think I may have said something that I thought was an acceptable word on television. I think I may have said tit.
Oh, right. Sure.
Right? I mean, wouldn't you think that would be an acceptable word? Or did
Yes. I would actually. It probably is now.
Very funny to me.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
But it wasn't accepted back then.
No. Lisa, I'm really a huge fan of yours, and I thank you for doing all the work.
Well, thank you. And can we do this in person one day?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
That would be so fun.
Guys, we talked to Natalie Morales, who directed this great movie called Plan B. It's out now. You can watch it. Don't watch it with your teens, but watch it, and then maybe your teens will also watch it. But it deals a little bit with how hard it has become in many, many, many places in this country to acquire birth control and or access to even just women's health care, period. Would you say that directing is your biggest pivot, or do you feel like you have a moment in your life where things took the left turn when you thought they were gonna go?
I guess I had something that really did change my life, that I could see changing my life when it happened. And I've talked about this before, but not in this way. So when I lived in New York, because I was doing the show White Collar, we had finished a season and I was moving back to LA just for the year or whatever until we went back again. And right before I was going to move, this girl that I had just met was like, "Hey, do you want to come to the opera? I have an extra ticket." And I was like, "I've never been to the opera. How fancy. This sounds great." And so I went to the Met, and sort of halfway through the first act, in the first intermission, I was walking down the stairs because her parents were at the bottom of the stairs, and she's like, "Do you want to meet my parents? They're sitting down there." And I tripped and I fell 20 steps, and I landed face first on the balcony wall, and I broke my face. And
what?
Yeah, and I couldn't. I couldn't see. And when I talked, all that happened was blood. Like I couldn't see for like a good 15 minutes. I thought I was blind. I remember literally my first thought was, it was that thing where I hit the wall so hard. You know that thing that happens in. Oh no! At least I didn't go over the balcony.
I really can't.
Yeah, that's
this
true,
This
at
is
least.
so terrifying to me.
Oh, yeah.
This is like my
Hold on.
nightmare in life.
Same, by the way, same. I hit the wall. That thing happened where like it sometimes happens in movies, but it does happen in real life where you hit your head so hard that all you hear is like, you can't hear anything else.
Yes.
And I felt like hands on me. I couldn't see. I tried to speak and nothing but blood came out. And my first thought was, I guess I'll be a writer. Like that was literally what happened because I thought my face was missing. Like I literally was like, I don't have a face.
But also, by the way, I love that you didn't. I do feel like my first thought would be like, I'm about to die.
I knew I wasn't dying. I knew I was still alive, but I thought I was like, I don't have eyes and I can't
my
speak
God.
and my face is gone. What ended up happening was I literally broke like shattered like to dust every single bone in my nose and my cheeks and stuff, right? Like dust, right?
Natalie, this is insane.
Oh, I know. I had to be like wheeled out. I stopped the whole opera. I had to be wheeled out of there. By the time, my favorite part of this, it was this opera called Turandot, which I still don't know how it ends, by the way.
Oh my God.
and I was like carted out of there. And I guess what happened is like shock blindness. When you hit your head really hard, your eyes just stop fucking working. And I finally was able to see, like when I was like blinking my eyes open and I was, with the neck thing. Also, everybody thought I broke my neck because I hit the thing so hard. I didn't. Thank God I didn't. But I was all strapped in. And on this stretcher backstage, and the first thing I see is a guy in like a full samurai costume just staring at me, and I was like, "Oh my God, what are you looking at?" So anyway, I had to have like emergency reconstruction surgery because I literally there was like just nothing there.
Oh my God. How did you know that the plastic surgeon that they were bringing in was good?
I didn't. So the guy at the ER was like, I was there all night and he was like, oh, by the way, the worst part of this is that because I was bleeding like crazy, once they let me go, all I had was just blood red stains on my crotch of my clothes and the pants that I was wearing, just from my nose and my mouth. But I had to leave the hospital with a huge blood stain just on my crotch.
Oh my God.
Anyway.
Oh my God. They couldn't have given you like a pair of shorts?
No, I mean, I guess it's normal in New York, right? Like you've seen worse. But the guy at the ER was like, you don't want us to do this. You don't want us to do this. I would suggest you call every surgeon in town and get an emergency appointment like tomorrow or the day after. If not, it's going to get much, much worse, but you don't want anyone at this ER to do it. Like, it was like St. Vincent's or something. And I was like,
right.
Okay. So I left not being able to breathe, like barely being able to see.
Oh my God.
I called somebody. My friend had actually broken his nose directing an episode of Gossip Girl at the Met Museum.
No.
Why is culture so dangerous?
I don't know. But he had just had that. So I was like, who was your surgeon? And she got me in. But I didn't have like any pictures or anything. So she just she was like, look, this is rocks in space. I'm just making you a hole that you can breathe through, maybe. You're going to have more surgery eventually to fix what I'm doing. So anyway, after that happened, my face was different, and my voice was different. And also it took about a year to heal. And it was like a lava lamp for a year. It just was like shifting shapes because all the bones were healing. And
like, would you sleep at night and then wake up and be like, ugh, my nose is flat today?
Yes. And also every day for a year, I would look in the mirror and be like, what's the fucking point of makeup or clothes? Because I hate the way I look. This is not me. Like, I didn't have my own face. So I was like,
oh my God.
It was a year of like severe depression because I had no control over my own face. Yeah. Literally.
Yeah.
And it was my livelihood at the time, right? And I'm not saying it like turned me into some Quasimodo thing, but like I also just didn't look like me.
You didn't want to move into the basement of the opera?
I mean, I should have, right? I should have like haunted that whole place.
You literally were like the Phantom of the Opera.
I should be. I should be. By the way, it was their railing was wobbly, and that's what propelled me forward. But I couldn't sue them for the medical charges because they're a historical building and they were exempt. So I got screwed. I paid.
Are you kidding?
No, it was like that night cost me like $100,000 out of my pocket.
Well, easily, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the thing about that's so fucked.
That's not even considering everything
also,
else.
by the way, come on, opera.
Yeah.
Fucking cough it up.
Yeah.
We know how much money you're raking in. I'm teasing.
Yeah, opera's
I don't think they are. I don't know, maybe they are. Are they? I don't know.
But so what a strange year. So this is not probably, this pandemic hasn't even probably been the strangest year of your life.
What's crazy is that was 2010, so it was exactly 10 years ago. And so I was on this show, and then they were like, "You've been let go from the show."
Oh my God.
And didn't tell me why. Although I felt like I knew. And then I didn't get,
how can they say like,
and then I didn't get jobs for a while. And I don't know if it was the way my face looked or my own insecurity about the way I looked or whatever, but it really pivoted things for me in this way that I was like, okay, I have to just kind of deal with, I have to be whatever this new person is, because that's who I am now. And like, I just have to live in this face and figure it out. And then I just started building back up and doing smaller guest star roles again, and then getting more work that way. So
okay, now I'm like obsessed, and I'm looking at pictures of you. I'm Googling because I literally had no idea. I've known you for a long time, and I
think I met you after.
I must have met you after.
Yeah.
So I just Googled you in 2009. There's a Pinterest page.
Oh my God.
Wait, is this your old face?
Yep, that's my old face. Yeah.
I mean, it's not too far off from
I'll show you. It is. It's not, if you like from the front, it's not crazy different from the side. I have a much the cheeks are not as different as they were. My upper lip is totally different, and my nose is like, it was a bigger, like a thinner nose, and now it's wider and flatter.
I'm sure. By the way, I'm sure to you it's so much more noticeable than it would be.
Oh, of course, but also if I was watching this show, The Middleman. That was the first show that I did the other day with somebody who really wanted to see it, who had never seen it, and was like, "Oh my God!" Every scene, he was like, "What? How is it that you look so insanely different?" And I was like, "I know. I keep telling people, but it is more obvious to me, I'm sure." I'll send you some pics, Busy. I'll send you some pics.
Okay, because this is truly wild. I've thought about this a lot. I fell holding Birdie when they were a baby, and protected Birdie and smashed my face. This is so crazy, into a very strong waitress's leg. So it was not a wall, Natalie.
Basically a human balcony.
It was no. I mean, honestly, maybe the force that Natalie flew with, but definitely the landing,
a little softer landing,
was a little bit softer, but still tough.
Yeah,
still tough.
Still a hard muscle.
And I did break my nose, but it was when I was on Cougar Town, and I had to fly back from Arizona. I was in Arizona. I had to fly back from Arizona. On Southwest, they were giving me ice to put on my nose. I had a baby with me. It was insane by myself. Oh. And then I
have the story of moving back to LA like that. Oh, yeah.
Oh, no.
I can't even imagine. And then I went to my ENT immediately, like as soon as I landed. And he was like, "Okay, here's the plastic person you can go to. But, you've got the good cartilage." And like, so cartilage can either bend like a tree, like a wet tree, like a branch, or it can snap. And mine bent. And so then they just like sort of bent it back. And
That's
it was fine.
great.
I
You have
know.
a fantastic nose.
It was thank you. I love my nose.
You have a great nose.
Thanks. But
I'm trying to find
also,
a good picture. I'll send you one.
But then
later.
I was like, but I did have that moment where I was like, what if this changes my face forever? How will I deal with that? What is it even like? I couldn't even comprehend it. So to have that happen, especially like at the beginning of your acting career, essentially.
Yeah. I mean, I was 25.
I mean, yeah, you're so young. And I mean, like, needless to say, you're a very beautiful woman.
Thanks.
But that it's not even a question of that. It's like a question of identity at a time.
Yeah,
like
that's what it was.
It's identity.
When your identity is forming.
Exactly. I knew that objectively it wasn't like I was like, marred and would be made fun of for my face forever.
Right.
You know, I knew that it just wasn't me. It wasn't something I chose and it wasn't something I wanted. So it just was a different face. And then like after it healed, I did what she said and I made an appointment with the top 3 like plastic nose surgeons in LA because I also still can't breathe through my nose well. It's like breathing through coffee stirrers. I couldn't. I really couldn't. I can't hike. I pass out.
What do they even do? But what do they even do for that?
So that's what I said. I was like, I would like my old nose back if possible, but mostly I would like to breathe. And the first guy was like, so I have to take a piece of your rib out and put it in your nose. It's going to take about a year to heal. It's a very complicated surgery.
Like biblical.
It's really bad. The second guy was like, no, I'm not touching you. It's too crazy. And I can't, with like my doctor's license, cannot touch your face. And the third guy was like, yeah, easy, no problem. So I did nothing because I was too scared. I did nothing. It's still the same. I've done nothing.
Did you ever see, because I had sinus surgery. Did you ever see a sinus surgeon?
I didn't. I literally never did anything.
My heart is going out to you because like anyone that has
I'm fine, but it was a pivot for sure because I was like,
but you were
what the
like
fuck do I do
literally
now?
at an age where like if someone got like bad bangs, it would send them into a spiral for a month until they grew out. So like I'm like my heart is just.
I wonder in that year when you were like sort of trying to wrap your face around your new face. Did you start to write more? Did you start?
Yes.
How did it? Yeah.
Yes,
Okay. So
I
that
did.
was.
I did.
And so how did it like tell us the silver line? Tell us the bright
That
spot.
that was the year I started directing music videos and started directing more because I wasn't getting work and also by the way neither were my like really talented brown friends were not getting cast in shit that I knew that they could do and so I was like I want to put people in things and I want to make stuff for us, even if it's not for anybody else. And so, that's the year I started directing music videos and doing stuff because, I didn't know if I was going to be working as an actor anymore. And B, I was like, I have to like accept that this is what my life is, which is fine. It's so much better than it could have been in so many fucking ways, right?
Of course.
And so I'm like, all right, like I have to I stopped looking at myself in the mirror for a while because it literally depressed me because I did not recognize the person. And then, once it stopped hurting, which really was like a year, I always talk about like for the first like 6 months, sneezing was the most painful fucking thing on the planet. And then after that, sneezing was orgasmic. It was like, it was the best feeling on the planet. And once I got to that stage where I wasn't in pain all the time and I was like, whatever, fuck it. This is my fucking face and I'm going to just keep doing what I'm doing. I think part of it also, it helped because I as an actor, I think it can be such a trap of like wanting to look a certain way or feeling like you need to look a certain way in order to get work or to be seen for things or to be considered for things. And I just stopped fucking caring.
Well, thanks for taking so much time with us. And we love talking to you and I like seeing you. And
I'm so happy to be on the show. I'm such a fan of it. So I'm so excited that I got to be on it. So thank you for having me.
Natalie.
Thank you for coming. It was nice to see your face.
Yeah,
and looking
too.
Great.
Thanks.
Ooh, element.
Element, we love you. Element, 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 we love you. Element.
Oh my goodness. You know how much I love Element. I do not go a day without getting my electrolytes and hydrating with a nice, tall, cold glass of Element. Element is a tasty electrolyte drink mix with everything you need and nothing you don't. That means lots of salt with no sugar. It contains a science-backed electrolyte ratio, 1,000 milligrams sodium, 200 milligrams potassium, 60 milligrams of magnesium, which is crucial, with none of the junk, no sugar, no coloring, no artificial ingredients, no gluten, no fillers, no BS.
Guys, you know how I feel about electrolytes. Whether it's a couple glasses of wine, you know I'm guilty of that, or working out, you know I've been doing a lot of that, or just an active lifestyle, you know I'm doing that, or hitting those picket lines, you know I'm doing that. You need to replenish those electrolytes.
By the way, this is how great Element is. Element has been so great to send some extra Element for us to take out to all the striking laborers who are on strike and share it with them so that they stay hydrated in the hot sun on the hot picket lines during hot labor summer. That is super cool of Element. For me, magnesium is such a big deal and hydration is such a big deal because of cramps. I just get terrible muscle cramps. It's just the way that God made me. I get terrible muscle cramps, and the only thing that really prevents them is staying extra hydrated and that magnesium.
Electrolytes are responsible for so many functions in your body. The conduction of nerve impulses, hormonal regulation, nutrient absorption, fluid balance. An Element is there for you, and it can help prevent and eliminate headaches, muscle cramps, fatigue, sleeplessness. I have had friends before who are like, I've had a headache for 3 days. I don't know what's wrong with me. And I give them an Element, a packet of Element in their water. And then like literally 20 minutes later, they're like, I feel better. Yeah, because you needed electrolytes. Okay. Right now, Element is offering our listeners a free sample pack with any order. That's 8 single serving packets free with any Element order. It's a great way. You can try all flavors, or you can share Element with a salty friend. Get yours at drinklmnt.com/best. This deal is only available through our link. You must go to drinklmnt.com/best, drinkelement.com/best. Try it totally risk-free. If you don't like it, you can just give it away. Share it with a friend. And Element will give you your money back. No questions asked. You have nothing to lose. And only your electrolytes to gain.
Busy, I know that one of the things that you don't love about being a cat owner is how much their food stinks.
Their old food didn't smell great. And I sort of hated it every time it was my turn to feed her and him.
The cat food of the past, and I have certainly been a cat owner in the past. The cat food of the past, it wasn't good. And so that's why I know you're so happy that we found our next partner, Smalls.
It's cat food that's protein packed, made with preservative-free ingredients, and it's delivered right to your door.
I know that you love Smalls because it just is healthy and nutritious. You want to take good care of your cats. You want to keep them out of the vet's office if you possibly can by keeping their diet very healthy.
They need fresh protein-packed meals to be at their best. And Rosie and Gildo love it. Love it. And their breath has been so much better since switching over to Smalls. Anyway, we love Smalls. And after making the switch to Smalls, I'm not the only one. 78% of cat owners reported that cats had shinier, softer fur. 90% reported overall health improvements.
That's a big deal. I think your cat's fur is shinier.
It's a big deal. You want to take good care of your kitties. Remember, higher quality ingredients means a healthier and happier life for your kitty. So head to smalls.com/best and use promo code BEST at the checkout for 50% off your first order plus free shipping. That's the best offer you'll find, but you have to use our code BEST for 50% off your first order. One last time, that's promo code BEST for 50% off your first order plus free shipping. Smalls.com/best. Here's what we are going to do. We're going to listen to our interview with a woman who, oh gosh, it was so incredible to talk with her. And she was someone I loved watching when I was a kid. And she was just really delightful. And I am going to give you a trigger warning that there is a suicide discussion in this interview. So if that is something that is difficult for you to hear, maybe this is your trigger warning. But I think she says a lot of really valuable things. And I really enjoyed getting a chance to meet her. I'm kind of obsessed with the actress, Julia Duffy. Julia Duffy, hi.
Hi.
Do you know what I'm just going to, okay. I've been having a lot of things going on in my life, Julia. A lot of things happening. And I didn't know we were talking to you today because things in my life were happening. And then I saw it this morning and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to cry. Because Julia, when I was a kid, I would watch Newhart with my parents and I was like, I can be that on TV. I can be her. I know I can be her. I know I can do that. That's who I'm going to be on television.
You said, I'm going to take her place when she ages out to your parents,
yes,
right?
I already knew how Hollywood worked.
Yeah.
No, but
Next.
you were such like a comedic inspiration to me as a kid. I loved when you were on Designing Women for a bit. Like I always would follow you and get super excited when I would see you and pop up in anything because I always just like, I don't know, I felt like you really were like one of the first times I saw a character on television that I was like, that's who I should be.
Here's the truth, Julia Duffy, you're a comedic icon working alongside Bob Newhart. I mean, like Bob Newhart he's like America's comedic gem icon of all time. And like, there you are next to him. And I feel like you really paved the way for our Angela Kinseys on The Office. And, you know, I mean, just listen. And spoiler alert, you're also really 10 times more funny in real life, I feel like, which is wild to me.
Well, I think I need writers, but that's very nice.
You are funny all of the time. I have to say, you're very active on Twitter. You're one of my favorite people on Twitter because you just talk to and are hilarious and lovely with everyone. I see you on my timeline all the time, and it always just makes me extremely happy because you are legitimately so funny in real life that I mean, I got to be honest, I was shocked.
That's all very sweet. But don't you think that Twitter just kind of gets under your skin and makes you like funnier and quicker? Like if you're in a room full of funny people who are quick, you get inspired.
Yeah.
Because my Twitter feed is fantastic. I beautifully curated it apparently or accidentally. And they're like my friends now. It's a little sad. I don't know them, but
Is it sad? I don't think it's sad.
I don't know. It's like when you had an invisible friend when you were little, and except I have a lot of them, and I want to meet them in real life.
Well, Julia, let's talk about you.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Newhart was a huge starring role. You were fairly young. Acting was always your passion? You wanted to become an actor. You moved to New York to go to drama school.
Yeah. Yeah. I always wanted to be an actress. There were no other choices. And I would sit like this far from the TV and I would watch these little girls on shampoo commercials. And I would think, I could do that. If I could just get it to go under, like if just to curl under a little bit, I could do that. And I was obsessed with it. And,
I memorized a milk commercial when I was.
Oh, you did? Oh, so
yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I memorized a milk commercial. I still know it to this day. But yeah, I get it. I get it. And then I saw you and I was like, well, that's what I'm going to be on a sitcom someday.
You guys both had similar childhood dreams. Busy's wishing for very strong bones. Julia's wishing for hair that flipped under.
Yeah.
Wait, but Julia also, by the way, my birthday's June 25th and you're June 27th.
Yes, I am. And do you know, so I'll tell you who else was born on my birthday. Oh, I always win this when people ask. Helen Keller and Captain Kangaroo.
Oh
my God.
Wow.
Yeah. So whatever you think about astrology, just think about that.
Also, I think Mike White is also the 27th.
That's very cool. Okay.
Oh, interesting. So you've been acting since you were a little girl, though.
Well, in community theater and that sort of thing. I desperately wanted to take dance lessons because I had friends who were taking dance lessons, but we couldn't afford it. We had like no money. My mother raised us by herself. My father left when I was a baby. I'm the youngest of 4 girls. And I kept bugging her. And then finally I found some brochure for dance lessons that were $1.25 a lesson. And she one day said, okay, you can take dance lessons. I was so excited. And I was just obsessed with what color leotard would I get. And then I went over to my friend's house and her mother said, her daughter was named Kathy. And she said, I'm going to send Kathy downtown to take drama lessons at the McPhail Center for the Performing Arts in Minneapolis. But I don't want her to go alone. Do you want to take drama lessons? And I said, do I? And so, like a giant light bulb went off over my head. And I ran back to my house, which was like 5 feet away. These are row houses. And I told my mom, and she said, well, you have to choose. We can't afford both. And it was actually a little cheaper to take the drama lessons. So I took the drama lessons. My neighbor Kathy dropped out quickly, and the rest is history. I would take the bus downtown all by myself at 10.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Once a week.
10 years old.
Yeah.
Taking
Those
the
were the
bus
days. Right.
in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Correct. That's right. And I knew how to walk to the place. And I walked very carefully there. And one day I would walk by the local KTLA or something. No, that's here. No, it was W's there. WCCO TV or something. And I would walk by their TV station on my way to drama class. And I kept thinking, wow, that's a TV station. And so I worked up my courage one day. And I walked in and I walked up to the desk, to the receptionist, and I said, do you need any actors? Because I'm an actor.
Oh my God.
And she, bless her, kept a straight face. And she said, and I think I had some sort of a picture of myself. It certainly wasn't an 8x10. I wouldn't have even known that existed. And she said, I will tell them that you asked. Give me your number and your picture. And I did. And I never heard from them.
Oh my God.
Okay, so can you tell us a little bit about what it was like working on the set of Newhart?
The set of Newhart was everything you'd think it would be and more. It was nothing but laughing all day long. We would actually be a little nervous on Friday night when the audience came in because we sort of wondered if we'd ever gotten through a scene. It was, there's a method to the madness, but it was a great deal of screwing around. And I would come home and tell my husband not to say anything funny because my stomach hurt so much from laughing. I couldn't laugh anymore.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I have a really specific question about Bob Newhart, which is that we know him as his comedic persona is dry. Does he laugh when he's not performing?
Yes. He laughs.
He's a laugher?
Yes, he's definitely a laugher. We would all lose it sometimes. I mean, he's pretty disciplined, but yeah, there were times we just couldn't go on. We were all laughing so hard. And in person, you would find him a little wilder. His sense of humor, you would find a little bit edgier than what he does for audiences. In fact, with the three of them together, Tom and Peter and Bob, oh my God, there were a lot of R-rated jokes. A lot.
Oh my God, I love that. I love it.
There were no limits. Comedy was king. The joke was king. The joke was always king. The joke, if it was there, you had to make the joke, no matter how dark or how anything. We all put the joke first. Nothing else mattered. To the point where, you'd say, this person should say this line. It works better if he has this punchline and I do this, because we didn't care about anything except the joke.
I know you stay in touch with him. That makes me really happy to hear.
Yeah, we did a Zoom and I just couldn't believe it. He was so quick. He was as quick as ever. And when he emails me, he always finds some snarky way to tease me. Always. Just some turn of phrase to keep me on my toes. He loves to tease.
Julia, we talk a lot about pivots in
yes, I know.
life and career and things that, make us have to reevaluate the plans that we thought we were making.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about pivots since I was catching up on your show. And I was thinking about life pivots, of which I've had a major one. And I started to think about how much this is part of people's lives. And I thought about my mother, who really had to pivot when her husband, my father, left when I was a baby and left her to raise 4 children by herself. She had no car. There were debts. And she wound up being a successful businesswoman. And also never complained about her lot in life. It's amazing. And I realized that did so much for me because I internalized this fact that you can move on, that moving on is incredibly important. And then, so I was going through this whole thing in my head because of this show. And then I thought about my great-grandmother who came from Ireland at 16 during the potato famine. And I thought, well, there's a pivot. And maybe there's something in the DNA. And then I thought about, okay, when did I have to pivot in my career? And I thought that just seems so petty when I think about these life things, my life things and my mother's life things. So I just wanted to just really bring us down there and say that was my train of thought. But as far as my career, the biggest pivot of all is just being older. And it's like you're starting over. You're in a different category. You're a different type. You're doing different things. You're reading for the type of characters you never did before. And it's really like starting over. And I will compete with actresses I never knew who they were until they were like 50 or older, because they fit this time so well, this type so well. And they cast by type so much in my age range because, and I don't want to sound ungrateful. I'm just saying it as a reality. I'm not saying it as that I'm pissed. I'm just saying it as a reality. Most things are written by people who are in their 30s and 40s,
right,
and even 20s. And large percentage of them are male.
Yes.
And when they write a middle-aged woman or grandmother, they don't know them from the inside. They can't even guess. They've never thought about it. And so they are writing types for middle-aged women over and over again, most of which would have worked perfectly well in 1955. And the thing that just drives me crazy. And I've mentioned it to several writers politely. If you're writing something current day and the woman is my age, or I'm playing somebody who's, let's say, 60, and she's a baby boomer, and you name her Myrna, then you are telling me that you don't have a fucking clue as to what you're writing.
Right.
She probably was at Woodstock, and they were Peggy and Kathy and Sue. These were the names. It just tells me they're not paying attention. And it bothers me a lot, as you can tell, because they're not giving it the thought that it deserves. But honestly, when they do write it as such a strong type, I look at it and I think, well, I wouldn't cast me either, because they're making it this type in order to work. And there are much, much stronger types in my age range than I am. I'm not a strong type as these types go. And so that's the frustration, I guess, is that for a long time, I was lucky and I looked like the type of roles that I got because I was an ingenue. I looked like an ingenue. I played an ingenue for so long. And now I don't at all. So have I successfully pivoted? Well, I don't have any control over this. So I can't really say very much about my ability to pivot. Part of it was doing theater, because, oh my God, the roles are so good. And the good thing is, when a role is good, it's good in a way I never got to do before. It's all new to me and it's great. For instance, my biggest successful pivot part of this was, and I'm trying to think how many years ago it was, but I think I was still in my late 50s. So hard to remember exactly how long ago it was. But they were doing Little Foxes at the Pasadena Playhouse. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to read for Birdie. And I thought, well, they'll never, ever see me. But I just knew somehow I had a feeling for that role. And somebody kept on them, and they finally agreed to see me. And during this time, between my finding out they were doing it and getting the audition, was like 2 months. And I worked on it every day. There were times my husband would leave the house so I could be alone. And I worked on my accent, and I worked on everything just in case I got the audition. And when I did, I got like 20 hours notice. But I was ready. And it was one of the times that kind of a commitment paid off. And I got the part. And it meant the world to me to play this Southern, abused, drunken woman. For some reason, I felt like it was my role. And so there is a pivot that worked.
Julia, you said when we asked you to be on the show, you said that you were nervous, and I think you did a great job.
You know, I was nervous because I didn't know if I was going to go into a life pivot or a career pivot. Yeah. And it's so hard to say this. And I don't know if we have time.
We always have time for you.
We literally always have time.
It got me thinking a lot, because as a lot of people, but not everybody knows, that we lost our son 2.5 years ago.
Oh, God.
To suicide. And he was all his life a victim of a mood disorder. But he had some really incredible periods of being very productive and successful. And I'm always torn about, of course I talk to people, but of course it's not a secret. Of course you can Google it and that sort of thing. But I've never really had a platform on which to discuss it. And it kind of kept me awake. But on the other hand, you want to honor the person.
Yes.
And not talking about them isn't honoring them. So it's that being torn between being private and doing some good by saying it. And it was a pivot just to have him be diagnosed at age 6 with a mood disorder and have school be this incredible challenge. It was a pivot to a different kind of parenting. Losing him was a different kind of parenting. It's also a pivot. But I'm still his mom.
Yeah.
And I'll do everything for him forever. because he left a lot behind. He had a very successful animated show called Crack Duck, which gets a lot of millions of views on YouTube and has been on TV in Canada. And, I just really want to brag about him rather than talk about my pivot. The Cartoon Network started a Adult Swim channel in Canada, and they asked the production company in Toronto, for which he made this show, for more episodes to program their new channel. And they listed 50 series that they wanted to have more episodes of. And number one on the list was Crack Duck. And I wish he had known that. I found that out just weeks after. But he had a long period in adulthood of being very productive. In fact, Ben Blacker presided over a pilot competition thing at South by Southwest TV Festival that Danny, I think, tied for first place in. And I mean, he had people coming after him, Disney and who did the Minions, whatever that company is. But a lot of people like that coming to him at Comic-Con. He was in Fred Willard's sketch group, Mohos, for a year. He's a great sketch writer. And nobody ever made me laugh harder than him. And it is quite a pivot. It was quite a pivot when I had a child that needed all of this brilliant child who needed all of this constant care. But great social skills, lots of friends, so much success that I admire, having to overcome modes that just attack you. And unfortunately, it comes back. You think you can go off medication, everything can be fine even for years, and it'll come back. And what I really want the world to know is there's no ether up here. It's all biology. It's physical. You cannot judge behavior that comes from a chemical imbalance. And it would help all of these people if our society could wrap their heads around that. And that's my mission.
Well, Julia, I'm very moved and very grateful as a parent that you were open about sharing that with us, because it's something that I know, without getting too much into the details, but I know I have had to learn a great deal about in my parenting journey. And I'm just grateful. It's very generous of you to mention this here and to talk about it, because I know there's probably a lot of parents listening that either know this journey already or that it's going to make them realize, a light bulb's going to go off in their head about some things. So I know that's probably the most difficult thing to talk about, but you honored him beautifully. He sounds like he was a really special person. And so thank you for sharing about him, because I'm happy to get to know him a little bit through you.
Well, watch Crack Duck. You see the result of his incredibly bizarre brain. But it got to a lot of people. He really had a lot of fans because he was addressing their issues very creatively and very, very humorously. But one thing I do want to say in my little spiel about all this is, one of the things that bothers me the most is when people say, well, we don't ever want him to go on medication. I'm not going to go that route. It's not a one-way street.
Yeah.
You could try it.
Yeah.
You could just try it for a while and see.
Yeah.
You have to acknowledge that it has saved lives.
I think that I'm with you 100%. There's listen, there's like a thing that has sort of been pervasive in the last decade or two that has led us literally to this place of like anti-vaxxers.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But it's all weirdly, to me, I feel like it's all weirdly a part of a puzzle. It's all part of a puzzle of a way of thinking and like a dogma of belief about science, like that you might know better than people who've studied this and are experts in the field.
People also have to realize that a child has nothing internally to draw on when they don't have that in order to control themselves. They don't have it until they're much older.
Right.
And their brain will not develop with the ability if you don't give the brain a chance by calming down those brain chemicals. It is physical. It's not some starry space in our heads. It's a physical thing that should be treated one way or another. There are strategies, but you've got to give them a chance. And it can't be what your philosophy of life is that directs what you do for the kid. Just as if the kid was in the hospital with leukemia, you would do what it took to get the blood right again.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to think of it that way. You have to be clinical about it. It helps to do that. But, we are still on the wrong track here. It can't hurt to talk to someone. And you can't think of it as a parenting problem. But our society has a very egocentric notion of parenting.
Yeah.
That we're what it's all about. We make or break the person and how they turn out. And it's just not true. There's just a lot of biology they come into the world with. And you have to respect that and you have to deal with it. But it is so difficult to think that it's not parenting, especially when the symptoms are misbehavior.
Right.
And people just don't believe, they can't wrap their heads around the fact that it isn't the parenting, or that they're the ones that need to say, hey, buddy, look at me. Every time somebody did that, I wanted to scream. It was the worst approach of all. And then, of course, when somebody did have the right approach, just my husband and I would, want to buy them a house or something. We're just like, oh my God, just stay in our lives. They were so rare. It takes a certain kind of sophisticated thinking, maybe, to grasp this, because the other is so much easier to grasp.
Yeah. Well, we're just sending you so much love.
Thank you.
It's hard to find the right words to say, but it's really incredibly generous of you to take this moment just to remember your son and share with other parents that might see that they're on a similar path. Because that's one thing I learned too, is that parents don't have a lot of places to turn to. I got a lot of calls from parents saying, I know this is not your job, but I know you know a little something about it. Can you help me even know where to start? And so it's really generous of you to share that with us. And we're sending you so much love and so much love to your son, because he sounds like a heck of a guy.
And the other thing I want to say is, I used to want to say, you think it's me if you notice my daughter is beautifully behaved? I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
It's not all the parent. Get over yourselves. So that's a thing that I think is a very important message. I think people will free themselves if they let go of the notion that it's all parenting, that we have the power to fix it all or control it. You have to look at things scientifically. Well, we know our country isn't being very scientific about things now.
Julia, thank you so much for giving us so much of your time and your heart, and also making us all laugh forever, and also making me realize that I could be on television.
Well, I'm happy to have done it. I had no idea that I had done that for you. You took it and you ran with it. You did very well. And I can't wait to catch up on Girls Five Eva. You're both delightful. Caissie, you are delightful on Twitter. Oh, have I not seen Busy on Twitter? Well,
She's on there sometimes. She pops on. But Julia's on Instagram too. So
Okay, I'm following you immediately.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Then I'll try to think of something to post.
Julia Duffy, you are so wonderful.
Thank you. You are both. You do something. I've listened to a couple of them, and you really do something good with the podcast world.
Thank you.
That means a lot. That means a lot to us. We're trying.
Listen, guys, we were so lucky to chat with Nikki Glaser, who talks faster than me, which is impressive.
Saying something, yeah.
It's impressive. I didn't quite know what the pivot or what the interview was going to really be about when she was coming on the show, because she's got a podcast that she does daily, a daily podcast, which is so cool. It's great. And I just want to say this, like, so I was really, I felt like the conversation was like super honest and really unexpected to me. And I just want to give a trigger warning, because I just need to give a trigger warning. But we're going to talk about eating disorders and like
dependency issues,
dependency issues,
some concerns about dependency, and eating disorders. And
I would just say like more the trigger might be for eating disorders and stuff.
So just if that's something that's hard for you to listen to, then just know that might be hard for you to listen to,
or choose to not listen to it if you don't want to.
Exactly.
But I think that some good. I just listen. Just listen.
I'm so glad to have been able to see you right now, because I honestly, you first came on and I go, I'm not going to say anything because I've never met you in person, and I don't want to just start off just like kissing your ass right away. Like that could be, because sometimes when people just start complimenting you off the top, you're like, okay, I see this is a girl's scheme to get people to like her.
But which always, by the way, works.
It does.
Like, for the most part.
I know. And that's the thing, is like, when it's honest, when I have a compliment for someone, I just give it. But I did question giving it to you. I thought it before I said it for a while. Like the second I saw you, I was like, Jesus Christ.
Nikki, what the fuck? I'm so happy to have you here. You're in your normal recording place, right?
Yeah.
This is where you normally do things. I know, because look at all the setup and it's so good. I'm on vacation.
I love that Caissie is in a parking lot of a Taco Bell in Wyoming. I mean, you couldn't write a more random like compilation of settings right now for her. Like it just kept getting more specific and funnier.
Nikki, where do you live?
I live in St. Louis right now. I live in St. Louis because I moved back here during the pandemic. Like at March 2020, I moved in with my parents.
Yeah.
And because I was in between places, I was moving into a new place in New York. I gotten rid of all my furniture. I just started a lease March 1st of 2020 for an apartment that was like going to be my bachelorette pad of like, I'm an adult. I'm going to treat myself. I've earned this money. Let's live large. Let's have an elevator that is your front door, an elevator that is your door. Like that was just like the mark I've made it. Like I hear a ding when I walk in I'm so rich and I've made it and I'm successful.
That is fancy.
It's so
fancy. Like some fancy fucking
all
shit.
I needed. I wish there was that little box to click on Zillow or whenever you're looking, because I honestly will take any kind of place that has an elevator. It just makes you feel special, except when I realize I'm so actually glad I never got to live there. If, say you have a break-in, right? Usually someone's knocking down your door and like has to like make a lot of cluttery noise before you get raped and murdered. But like if you have an elevator that is your door, you just hear ding, ding, and then you're like,
and then you're dead.
Am I about to die? Like that kind of freaked me out, because I have a roommate now in St. Louis, and I make him announce when he walks in the door, he goes, not a rapist, because sometimes he's listening to music, or I'll go, Andrew, and he won't hear me, and I just go, I have seconds where I can't see the intruder, and I know I'm about to have to fight for my life. Like I get into that mode, and it's so scary being a woman sometimes.
Being a woman is terrifying.
Yeah.
Do you feel
I don't like living alone, and that's why I have a roommate. Yeah.
No, I don't like living alone.
So I moved
either.
back with my parents, and that's just to make a really long story even longer than it needed to be.
Yeah.
I moved back with my parents because I didn't have anywhere to go. I had no new furniture. I was getting this place like redone, adult style, Nikki. I got rid of all my like West Elm shit that had been off Craigslist that I'd been hauling around since like college. Like, and West Elm's nice. Like I would shop there now, but I just was like starting over. And then COVID hit, and I was with my parents already. They were in LA with me. I was doing 2 weeks in LA, waiting for my place to get decorated so I can move in March 15th. And I was there doing Conan and like Kelly Clarkson. I had all these appearances, and I was like, I always like to fly my parents in. They're from Midwest. They love TV. They love entertainment. Like having them go backstage at Conan is like a true dream. So I always fly them in for these things. So they're out there, and my mom's supposed to go on Kelly Clarkson with me. My mom's first like TV. My mom loves TV. Is like should be a TV star. She was on my show on Comedy Central, but she's gonna be on like they're pre-taping a Mother's Day show. And so my mom flew in, was like all excited. And then COVID started going down that week and everything started shutting down. We got to go to Conan. That was the last thing. My mom was scared she gave Conan COVID because they hugged. It was like one of the last hugs she ever gave. Or my dad said that, I think. And she was like perpetually scared she gave COVID. So I was with them, and I was just like, I'm scared. Things are getting weird. I'm just going to go back to my parents' house where I go twice a year anyway, at least, and just like wait till this blows over. I need love. But I just I look at my life and I just go, it's pure fucking luck that I ended up with all the things. And it actually is luck that I ended up with ADD that wasn't treated for a while. Even though I go, Mom, Dad, why didn't you see it? Why didn't you ask me about my feelings more? Mom, why didn't you touch me more? And I go, I'm so glad you fucking didn't, because I'm making so much money just being honest, and it's so fucking easy. And you're going to live in a sweet-ass nursing home someday because your daughter found some way to take what you didn't give her and spin it into money that I don't deserve. I don't work as hard as, I work hard, but I'm so fucking lucky. And lucky for all the bad stuff and the good stuff, and I have to keep like thinking of things that way. But it's like it sucks that it's so hard to get diagnosed and it's so expensive and all this shit. Like I'm sure there are people listening that are like, great, I definitely have that. What the fuck? It's $1,000 to go in hours of my life to go get diagnosed. There's got to be something implemented so that people don't have to feel like so that they have to trick the system to get a fucking diagnosis that's like,
you can go to a psychiatrist.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I guess I don't know why I went. I think I just wanted to actually prove it to myself and not, because I'm very manipulative, and I feel like I could be, and I could probably get someone to give me some, speed, like, because that's the thing. I always feel guilty that I'm like doing meth or something.
Well, here's what I want to say about it too.
Yeah.
Like, I do think that you're a few years younger than me, but pop culturally old enough to remember the like Lindsay Lohan, Adderall, like all those girls who were so skinny.
Yes.
And like weirdly, I had drilled into my brain from like Dr. Drew Pinsky that Adderall was like a gateway drug, and and it was like just all bad news, and this is why it's the worst thing you can do for your body and your system, and it's terrible. And like, I will say, do people abuse ADHD medication? They have. Obviously. Yes, I'm sure people abuse everything. All medication.
Yes.
Yeah. Weirdly, I do
contact
think
lenses.
that the Adderall,
people do abuse contact lenses.
Oh, they do?
Yeah,
I abuse them.
People leave them in for too long. People try to game the system and leave them in for too long, and then
You're right. You're so right. Okay, never mind.
That's like the nerdiest abuse of anything, but it is true.
No, but that's you're so right. That's okay. I like it.
But I just now am having this realization as we're discussing this, that framing of ADHD medication is also like just deeply rooted in like the fucking patriarchy and women, like girls being out of control.
Oh, wow.
And like think about it.
And it even goes further too, because it's also shaming parents who are mothers, saying you're just trying to give your sons, who are a handful, medicine.
You can't handle your sons.
You can't handle your kids. So you're
guys.
just trying to medicate them.
Very intelligent. That is seriously That's it. And the fact that you can get thin on it, you know, like it curbs your appetite. So it's just a thing women are trying to do so they can get thinner, which is another thing that we get shamed for.
Yeah.
Even though everything tells us that we have to be thinner. When we do, people go, what do you do? Why are you that thin?
Because listen, here's the thing. You can get thinner. That is true. Yes. You also sweat. You're also pale. It's also hard to shit. It's also sometimes hard to have sex on these medicines. So it's like, there are pluses and minuses. So like, just because your pant size goes down by like 1 or 2 doesn't mean that it's like a dream drug or something,
and that is not guaranteed. And that is not like, because as I hear that as an anorexic, and back in my days, I would have been like, I will do anything to get on this miracle drug that is going to make me lose weight. And the thing is, that's why I was reluctant to do it, because I got recovered from my eating disorder in April of 2020, and then got diagnosed in August and so I was really scared that this was going to get me back on a track of starving myself, because that's part of my, you know, my sobriety is like not starving myself ever again. And so I was scared, like, it was going to curb my appetite, and then I was going to start doing things with it. And so that's another thing that I just feel constant shame about, is that like, as a girl that's like a weak anorexic girl that couldn't figure out a way to be thin, that didn't make people worry, and she's too sick, and there's that shame of using it that way. So there's so much shame around it. It's
which is also just
in every
fucking bullshit.
It's bullshit.
Yeah.
With my disordered eating, like my eating disorder, like I am in a group of like the coolest people that all like are bulimics, overeat, bingers, like exercise bulimics, people who exercise addicts. Like I'm in a collective group of all these people who have disease disorder, and we're like the coolest people, but there is a way to live where you don't have to deal with that anymore. And it's like, you just have to get desperate enough and like look at your life and be like, I don't like this, and this is like hurting me. It's only leading me to be like, you just have to be done with it. Like I had to be done with drink. I had to hit a bottom with drinking, which is just like, I felt like I was dying and like shivering in my shower in a ball. And I was like, okay, I'm done. Like I can't do this anymore. You have to have like, your bottom might be like fucking shallower than other people's. But for me, I hit a bottom with my eating disorder, and being anorexic, I really relate. I feel like an obese person too, and I don't feel like, but I have. I think as much as I could never know that experience, I know it because I was walking around as someone that looked like I was so thin at my worst when I first got it that I was whispered about constantly, made fun of. People were just disgusted by me, thought that everything that I was choosing to do that I was just like it just walking around, alarming people, inconveniencing people worried about you, people just like commenting on you, whispering, all the looks, you see it all. And I remember being told that my eating disorder could flip the other way and turn to binging. And I just was like, there's no fucking way. Like as an anorexic, when I was like 18, I was like, you know, we're the best because we don't throw up. We don't like, we're not fat or what, you know, like all those things. But this bitch was so right because I went to binge eating. I could be anywhere along the spectrum if my disease wants to take me there. And it has. I was bulimic for a really long time until it started giving me mouth acne that I just couldn't deal with anymore. Like that was my bottom for throwing up. So I go, okay, no more throwing up. Done with that. Then I started exercising to get all the binge off. That I would be bulimic in that way. Then I got injured. Okay, well that's out. I can't do that anymore. Okay, now I'm gonna go back to now I'm just gonna starve all day and binge at night and starve away. Like it would have eventually just led to me like being every kind of spectrum of the eating disorder. And so it's just like I feel like women along any kind of if you relate to any of those things, we're all in the same fucking boat. And we should all be like helping each other out and talking honestly about it and like accepting that none of us want to be, maybe if you don't like your body, you're not wanting to be in that body. Like you don't get up every morning and go, I'm going to put on, like if you could choose, you would just snap your fingers and maybe have another body. Okay. Like you would. So let yourself off the hook for the fact that you didn't really, you're just trying your fucking best, and this is what you got, and just fucking do your day with what you have, and maybe someday it'll be what you want it to be, but today it's not, and fucking just accept it. This is all you got. Like, there's all these platitudes that come along, but I finally have body acceptance. I don't know if it's, and of course I can say that as a thin woman, and like that's easier for me to say, but I've seen fluctuations in my weight over the year that I finally feel okay about aging and like getting like bigger in different areas, which I never thought I'd be okay with. And I have been okay with it. And there's been moments where I've been depressed because I saw cellulite on my leg or something so stupid. And I catch it 5 minutes later because I'm like, why am I in a bad mood? Oh, because I saw cellulite on my leg. Like, I didn't want that cellulite. I didn't put it there. I didn't leave the house to go to Target and go, I'm going to put that cellulite there. Like, it's not like making anyone puke anywhere. Like who cares? Just like be in a good mood again when you first walked into this Target before you saw your dumb cellulite. Like, I'm finally there, and I don't know. I was in a mad dash to get to a place where I liked myself before I really started aging. And now I'm fucking ready. Like, bring on Frances McDormand. Frances McDormand does not look in the mirror in the morning and go, oh, I'm so old. Like, maybe she does sometimes when she's like a little drunk and just trying to be funny. But I don't think that woman walks around. We all fucking love her. We don't question how gorgeous she is. She wears no makeup. She's just herself. And like, I just was like, I kind of am just like, be Frances McDormand. Like, just like, actually like yourself, like accept yourself. You don't even have to like it. Sometimes I look like a legit dude. Like I look like I always say I look like a yoga instructor named Jesper. Like I look like a feminine dude, and I don't, it's okay if I look like a dude. I don't want to though. You know, like that's not, I'm trying to find a husband that's like a hetero guy, a straight guy. So like, that's not my intention. But sometimes I go, you look like a fucking dude. And I just laugh and I'm like, well, you're a dude right now. But tomorrow you'll be cute again. Like, who cares? You're not going to be a dude forever. You just like this combo of this outfit, and you slept on your face weird last night. You ate too much salt last night. You didn't drink enough water. You look, just everything's conspiring to make you look like a dude, and it's funny, and just go on your day, and maybe tomorrow you won't.
I mean, listen, I think that at all, like the end of it, we all need to like move to a place of acceptance of who we fucking are, right? And like it hits people at different times in their lives, and sometimes it's like you aren't capable. Sometimes people aren't capable of doing it when they're younger, you know. And like I'm happy for you that like that this last year caused you to slow down and move in with your parents, and then like really address a thing that was like killing you.
Yeah.
You know, and driving people away, because the fact that you can look at it as what it really was is pretty fucking impressive, Nikki.
Thanks.
And like,
I just never
and it's
thought
not,
I'd
and
get
also
there.
I'm gonna tell you something that Bertie Silverstein has said to me. Recovery is not a straight line. So also forgive yourself when it goes to the left or it goes to the right.
Yes. When I overeat and I feel sick a little bit, like, or I'm like, I stuff myself. Like there's a compulsion in me as like, you know, my rules not rules, but my like agreement with myself to treat myself the best is never to starve, don't eat in bed, and don't skip meals. You don't get to skip meals. You can have like as many meals as you want. Like, and try not to make yourself sick with food. You know, you can like, but sometimes I do. The other night, like I was just feeling things. I saw like my friend sent me a screen recording of a guy's Instagram that had blocked me. So I didn't, you know, like she's doing she's giving me things that I'm not even supposed to see. And by the way, I'm not someone who's like a toxic person that people block often. Like it's a weird, I have an excuse for being blocked that isn't like I'm harassing. Yeah, it happens. Listen, it happens. So that was upsetting, and I just like overate, and I felt like sick going to bed. And that's when I tend to go kind of crazy, is going to bed is like feeling like, ugh. And it reminded me of like how I used to be. But then I just was like, well, you were just feeling things, and that was like the only kind of soothing mechanism you had. And you feel a little sick. Okay, you're not like, you don't, it's okay. Like you said, it's not a straight line. I'm not always going to be perfect. Some days are like really good with like, I didn't even think about it. I love myself today. And other days are not. But I have ways of thinking now and ways of handling those feelings. And sometimes it involves playing a Taylor Swift song on my guitar and like processing a feeling and being like, just pause before you reach for the seaweed snacks or whatever kind of like, I still eat anorexic foods. Like that's my problem. I developed all these. If you're an anorexic out there, you know about air foods, right? Like popcorn, foods that just have whipped cream, sugar-free whipped cream. Yeah. Voluminous foods that have no real substance. Seaweed snacks is one of them. You know what? I fucking love a seaweed snack, and I can't stop. I still love it, even though and I have shame about it. Because it's like a thing that I used to use to starve. Yeah. But if I go,
you have to
overboard,
reframe it. Yeah, you got to reframe it.
It is exciting though to like reapproach food and go back. I went to the Comedy Cellar one time during the pandemic, and I used to go there every single night. Leading up to COVID, and I would get the same. That's when my binge would start. Like I would starve all day, and then I would just go there and order a fucking smorgasbord of baba ganoush, hummus, and salads. Like I love healthy food. It's thank God I like healthy food. But as an anorexic in the years past, I developed like an affinity for it. But now I just really love it, and I would stuff my face with it, and I would be like, "This is what I like," and people would just like. Always comment and go like, whoa, look at Nikki and her salads. And I would go, yeah, I have an eating disorder. Like I was pretty open about it. And then I would go home and binge protein bars in bed, like throughout the night, like eating on the toilet, like waking up to go to the bathroom, eating a protein bar, like that kind of eating, and wake up with like 7 to 11 wrappers every morning in my bed. Like that was my life. But I went back to the Comedy Cellar after I was not binging anymore and not eating in bed and not starving. And I looked at the menu, the place I've been going for 10 years since I've had an eating disorder, literally order the same thing every single time. The waitresses all know, just Nikki salads, no oil on the hummus or baba ganoush. And I looked at the menu and I did not want that. Like I was like, oh, I was just giving myself that because that was all I would allow myself to have. I was getting the most healthy thing. I didn't actually think about what my body would like craved. And I've learned that from not starving myself anymore. Like it's back to like, what would make you feel like satisfy you now? And that's a whole different. I would never have guessed that I would ever want to eat something else there. I thought that's what I truly wanted, and it wasn't. But seaweed snacks are truly what I want.
Well, then that's,
I love them, even though they're so much waste.
Then you're listening to your body, and listen, people have come on here and talked about a lot of important pivots that they've taken in their lives and careers, but your pivot, like, it might have saved your life. So I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful because I'm glad you're here.
Caissie, that's so nice of you to say because I think that I had convinced myself it wouldn't ruin my life because it was manageable. Like I was killing it. Like no one would have guessed, right? That I had this problem. But it would have led me to never let love into my life, real intimacy, these things that like, if you don't have those, you do die early. It would have killed me in some way. It was just robbing me of like a life worth living. Honestly, I hated everything I was doing. It was demanding too much of me. And that was my favorite thing in the world was suffering. And so I resented this new thing. So yeah, you're right. It did save my life. And it's, and I'm grateful that I had to look at it, but I sobbed when I stopped eating in bed. Like honestly, to think of the rest of my life and I'll never eat in bed. If I have kids and they make me mama breakfast in bed, I'm not gonna no, I can't. It's like all these things. I'm like, I'm gonna rob myself of that. It's like you don't even want kids. What are you presenting this scenario that your niece and
also
nephew?
Can I be honest, Nikki? I have been a mom now for 13 fucking years.
But cereal commercials,
I never once.
No,
I don't think.
No,
I have brought my children like food in their bedrooms, but only because they're like late for school or whatever, and I'm just like, here's your cereal. Get the
by the way,
up.
if you should ever accidentally find yourself with a kid and they should make you breakfast in bed, it's not going to be good. You're not going to want to eat it. So
no, you're not.
Don't even.
It's not. Let's not worry about that.
Bring mama her
don't worry about it.
She'll eat them at her desk.
Yeah.
I mean, I also love. We're gonna let you go because this has been so great.
Thanks for letting me just ramble. You guys are really sweet. I've been monologuing, but the ADD meds, busy. You know the feeling. Well, Caissie, are you like where they kick in and you're like, I can't stop talking. And
I'm on so many kinds of meds, and I might take mushrooms on this road trip. So
yes,
this is where we're headed. I'll let you know how it goes.
Oh my gosh! And I just want to say before we wrap up, It's so freaking nice to meet you guys and to spend this time. Caissie, I don't know how I know you, but you're like, I see your name and I go, that's someone on Twitter that is so fucking funny. I just know you as a genius comedy writer person. Like, I've just seen your work. I don't know how, but it's just in my head. As soon as I saw your name, I was like, oh, I can't wait to meet that person. And you've just been, it's been so nice to meet you and talk to you as you're parked in a Taco Bell in Wyoming in the parking lot and busy.
So weird.
I gotta just tell you, I just am so in awe of your talent. As an actress and just personality. But when I first saw you on Freaks and Geeks, you just blew me away. I can't believe someone that young could be that good and that you aren't even that person to me. Like that's because it was such a character. It was just, I just really admire your talent. And I would love to, I want to talk to you about someday about what that's like to be so talented at acting and to be so talented. Oh my God.
Yeah, we can have some soda and we'll break it down.
We'll talk about our experience with E.
Okay, Nikki, you're a fucking delight.
You are too. Thank you so much, you guys. Thanks. I had a great time.
Oh my gosh, time to talk about our favorite Thrive Cosmetics.
Obsessed with Thrive Cosmetics. You know it. You know it.
We love Thrive Cosmetics so much. The mascara, the Liquid Lash Extensions mascara, it is the only mascara I can use, the only mascara type I can use because my under eyes are oily and every other mascara transfers down there. This is not like that. It's a tubing mascara. It doesn't make a mess.
Guys, listen to me. If you hear one thing from me, be it this. Go buy the Liquid Lash Extensions mascara. I swear to God, you are going to love it. I have never had so many compliments on my mascara since I started wearing this Liquid Lash Extensions mascara from Thrive Cosmetics. I'm not kidding. I wear it. I ended up having them get it for me on Girls 5 Eva. Like, I only want to wear this mascara.
This mascara just works so well. I use the brown and the black color, mostly the brown.
It's incredible. It lasts all day. It comes off easily with just warm water. You don't even need soap. I don't understand why it's so good, but I love it. And I want you to try it because I want you to love it because I love it. Caissie loves it. There's no parabens, sulfates, or phthalates. It's certified 100% vegan and cruelty-free. They make it with clean, skin-loving ingredients. And they are called Thrive Cosmetics, CAUSE, because cause is a part of their mission. Part of their mission is that every purchase supports organizations that help communities thrive, such as people who are battling domestic abuse or homelessness, cancer, and more. We looked at all of the organizations that they support. It's all good stuff, guys. We promise. Right now, you can get an exclusive 20% off your first order when you visit thrivecosmetics.com/best. That's Thrive Cosmetics, CAUSEMETICS.com/best for 20% off your first order. We love you, Thrive Cosmetics.
Ugh, you know what I'm calling this? The summer of swamp ass. Booty BO is real. And I mean, not to shame anyone, like here's the thing. We all have butts and all of our butts smell sometimes. Like if you don't pay extra attention when it's very swampy outside, sometimes your butt is going to smell. And if you want to just live with it, that's okay. No shade. But for me, and for you, I think we're not into booty BO. And that's why we're so excited to tell you about Lumi, the world's best whole body deodorant.
Lumi, in case you don't know, Lumi deodorant is a game changer. It's here to keep everyone smelling great when we need it. most and where we need it most, underarms aren't the only place that people have odor and need freshening.
When I say you could use this everywhere, you can use it everywhere. If it's like a little smelly and cheesy behind your ears, you can use it back there. You can use it in any kind of folds or under the boobs or just anywhere where your like butt kind of hangs down at the back of your thighs.
Pits, under boobs, thigh folds, belly buttons, butt cracks, vulvas, feet. By the way, that's actually a great point. I need to put some on one of my kids' feet. I need to put some of this Lumi whole body deodorant on one of my child's feet. I'm not going to name names. They have best-selling scents like lavender sage, which is my favorite, clean tangerine, also I love, and fresh alpine. You're going to smell better than ever. They also just launched new scents that include mint cucumber and soft powder, which I think I'm going to have to try.
As an OBGYN, Lumi's founder, Dr. Shannon Klingman, met thousands of women concerned with odor below the belt. Through clinical testing, she discovered it wasn't the vagina that was to blame. It's never the vagina. It's never. It was bacteria on our skin. So she created Lumi, a pH-optimized aluminum-free deodorant that actually works and works everywhere with over 150,000 five-star reviews to prove it. I'm one of those 150,000 five-star reviews because I love everything that Lumi makes.
I personally am obsessed with the body wash. I've had a hard time finding a body wash that I like that doesn't make my skin itch because, I'm very sensitive. So I actually ordered the starter pack and I got a little trial of the body wash and it has been a game changer and I love it so much.
Lumi's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like mini body wash and deodorant wipes and free shipping.
And as a special offer for our listeners, new customers are going to get $5 off a Lumi starter pack with code BEST at lumideodorant.com. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack when you visit lumideodorant.com and use code BEST. It's Lumi, L-U-M-E, deodorant.com and use code BEST. We had the delight to speak with Caissie's friend and now mine, I hope, Shea Couleé. You may know Shea from Drag Race and Drag Race All-Stars. If you haven't caught up, you're still watching. I'm not going to tell you who wins, but it might be the person that we talk to in this interview. Shea's got a lot going on and is just a true delight and also knows how to spin on a pole and spin a yarn. I'm just making this up, guys. I don't know what the fuck is happening. Anyway, enjoy this interview with Shea Couleé.
First of all, can I just say I love that everyone is doing this handheld mic moment. I feel we're really serving this kind of girl group fantasy because I was feeling a little certain type of way. I was like, okay, am I going to be looking stupid because I don't have a mic stand because I'm not looking, I have a whole sound studio going on, but I love that we're all here with our little handheld. I am someone who still to this day really goes hard for girl groups. I've always loved girl groups, it's just all you name a girl group, I love them. Destiny's Child.
Like Donna D. Kane. Donna D. Kane, you were like...
Girl, they are still in heavy rotation on my gym playlist.
No,
Striptease, that is my jam. I'm going to have to say Dawn is my fave.
Okay.
Dawn.
Just because Dawn, she was kind of always the slightly awkward one, but as time has continued, Dawn is a solo artist. Her music is really, really cool. So I appreciate, Dawn. I appreciate the hustle and someone who's just so I'm here to still stay and do what I want to do, and entertain maybe happy. So yeah, I'm like them. Little Mix. I'm a mixer. I stand them. So
you're a mixer.
Hell the fuck yeah, I am.
Love it.
I'm here I am in my 30s being
I was going to say, you're born in 1989. So I'm an escape
salt and pepper lover.
Yes, absolutely. Week. Oh my God. All the time. Like week comes on, I stop what I'm doing. And I'm like, y'all, we literally have to all clasp hands and swing back and forth.
I'm also just like very basic, and I just loved the Spice Girls. Like I loved Spice Up Your Life. Like because I was born exactly 10 years before you, Shea. And so Spice Girls hit like me at a point where I was ready for the Spice Girls.
You were ready for all the girl power. That was actually the first cassette tape that me and my sister bought together. Because what were they even? The full album was maybe $4.99, like $5 for a cassette tape, and we still split it.
Yeah, sure.
And oh my God, we would put it in her boombox in her room because she had one, I didn't, and we would just jam to the Spice Girls.
I have so many questions.
Well, first of all,
and so many
we should
things.
introduce Shea in case people aren't RuPaul's Drag Race watchers.
You also should see my face right now because I'm like,
just in case.
If anyone doesn't know who Shea Couleé is, they can walk the fuck out of this podcast right now.
Just in case. Well, you know what? If anyone doesn't know who Shea Couleé is, I actually envy you because you have like a wonderful new thing to discover. You can go back and get the whole history of Shea Couleé on RuPaul's Drag Race. And actually, well, spoiler alert, is the winner of season 5 RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars.
Yeah.
That just happened.
Pew, 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 pew.
I lost my damn mind, Shea Couleé. I was so happy.
Well, but this was because, guys, if you're not Drag Race watchers, season 9 of Drag Race, you were like, let's just be honest, the fucking star.
Oh.
And then the upset of the century of Drag Race is that you did not win. And everyone was up at arms. And so this is like, I mean, because we talk about like setbacks and pivots and stuff on this show in particular, can we talk about that? Like what that felt like? Because you had to have thought, like everybody watching season 9 knew you were winning, clearly.
Yeah.
And then
no, they said surprise, surprise. And it was honestly like now in hindsight, like 4 years later, it was the best lesson that I could have ever received because I've always like my parents always had us be of the mindset of like, you know, you just concentrate, you work really hard for things and you'll get them, you know? And I knew at that point, I was like, I worked really hard. I had dedicated so much of myself to this and I had excelled in the competition. So I was like, this is my time to like claim my prize and like my moment. And then when that did not happen, I was like, okay, well, I need to look at this as being a bigger lesson. What is it that I need to take from this? And really all it did was give me like a 100% ego death, just shattered my ego to a million pieces, which,
that is
you
hard.
know, and it's like, as like entertainers, like, you know, we have very big egos, like, you know, we have it, especially as drag queens, you know, they're inflated. And so I really had to go to like such a humbling place and like really concentrate and focus on why it is that I got into drag, why it is that I loved drag, you know, because all of a sudden it was this business and it's all these people have these opinions and, you know, it kind of affects the way that other people treat you. And so you kind of had to like, I had to like really kind of step back and ground myself, but it taught me to believe in myself even that much more. Like having like people witness me fail in such a dramatic and poetic way allowed me to really like actually gain even more confidence and be like, okay, that was actually my worst nightmare and I'm still living.
Yes.
You know, so.
But I like what you just said about like you had to, okay, so your ego is, I've had that moment as a performer where you're like shattered and you have to return to the why. Like, why do I do this? And what do I love about this? And so when that happened and you're like, this is the worst, what was the why for you when you thought about like the origin of performance and what it meant to you?
The why for me was because performance, entertainment, drag have always been the language that I use to communicate and express myself most authentically and most powerfully. Like performing drag art, that's how I communicate with people. And that why was that I drag my art is like my voice, and without it, I feel like I'm not even talking to people. I feel like I'm not existing, you know? Like I need to create something in order to feel like I'm really communicating who I truly am on the inside, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to ask. Like when you say that's like how I talk to people, is it like those are the moments when you feel like you are able to be the realest, like,
yes,
really like the most raw version of
the
yourself?
most authentic me I could possibly be. And it's insane that it takes a whole bunch of crazy wigs and hair and production, but that's still all me. That's still all the imagination. That's
part of it.
It is, because I feel like, you know, we have all these societal constructs of gender and all this bullshit that we have to deal with, and drag for me is transcending all that bullshit. And it's coming across on the other side and showing people, you know, that us as these sentient beings are so much more than just the clothes that are on our backs or the makeup that's on our face, you know? Like we can tell so many beautiful stories. And I just love going out there and using drag to just tell stories all the time, you know?
And I love watching them.
Man, you really do.
Embrace it, because, you know, growing up, my femininity was something that people used against me as something that was like bad, but it was hard for me to accept those types of critiques when I had examples like my mom and my aunts and my sisters who are all these really strong, badass women, and me being like
Diana Ross,
you know,
like,
yeah.
You know.
So it's just like, I'm having a hard time like really processing that you guys are telling me that these qualities are bad. It sucks when growing up people are telling you like your feminine qualities are unacceptable and or bad, when all the examples that I have in my life of femininity are all just like really impeccable, strong, beautiful, smart women.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then drag allowed me to be like, I'm gonna like kind of like put this on, and I'm really gonna embrace this femininity and step out in it and actually feel empowered by it. And then like when I did that, I was all like, yeah, fuck the patriarchy. This is some bullshit. Like,
you know what's so interesting, Shay? I'm strongly identifying with what you're saying. I feel like a lot of times in my life, people have taken things that like I identify as really like feminine traits and been like, well, that's not important, or why are you doing that? That's frivolous, or it's silly, or it's not you, or, you know, just you just feel like you can't do anything correctly.
That's why I love like AFAB queens, like cis women doing drag, because I was like, it's that same thing where people try and tell you that like, you know, overt femininity is frivolous and it's silly, because so many times people consider it to be something that's done strictly for the male gaze. And you're like, no, right. I literally just put on this top because I bought this top, I shopped this top, I like this top, not because I was trying to get who the fuck ever Frank over there to pay attention. Like, who gives a fuck about I didn't even notice Frank, you know? Right. And so I like,
no one knows who Frank is, you know what I mean?
You know, like only you're the one, Frank. But it's like, that's why I love like AFAB queens, because they're all like, yes, I can use my femininity and put on this armor to show people like, femininity is really bomb and it's powerful too. Like masculinity and like aggression, those aren't the only ways to exhibit strength. Like, guys, come on. Like this shit is like, it's so basic sometimes. It's I feel like I talk in circles, because like the amount of misogyny that's just kind of ingrained in just like all the fabric of society. And I just feel like I just love how drag allows us to just like celebrate and amplify femininity and showcase all the beautiful, beautiful components that exist within it. You know,
you're such a scholar of all of this stuff. It's one of the reasons I love talking to you, because like it's more like you're putting on a hell of a show all of the time. It's super entertaining. But then if anyone gets the chance to sit down and talk to you about like the brass tacks of all of this stuff, and you're so generous with all you know, and just really smart stuff that I think a lot of people don't maybe think about or aren't thinking about yet, or like just on the cusp of thinking about, like ideas that maybe aren't super familiar to just everyone. Yeah. So I wanted to ask if we can talk about pronouns, because the way that you use your pronouns is a little interesting.
Yeah, so I identify as non-binary. So I oftentimes default to they, them pronouns, gender neutral pronouns. In drag, I prefer she, her. Out of drag, you can use
they, them.
Yeah, they, them. And honestly, you can use she, her too. Because I don't know what it is about masculine pronouns. I'm like, I mean, it's.
I would assume that a lot of your friends use she, her?
Yeah, because like
I would assume
it's
that,
like that's the culture too, especially like with other drag queens. We're always she, her with each other, you know? Yeah, sometimes when even someone is not in drag and someone uses like he, him pronouns, you can kind of feel the girls like.
Yeah, like
they're like a man. Where?
I want to see him.
But and that's the thing, because drag really helped me to kind of understand my gender non-binary identity, because you know, I'm doing this act, I'm doing these shows 5 nights a week, and I'm like putting on the wig and the hair and the makeup, you know, feeling my feminine fantasy, you know, taking it off after the show. But the person on the inside didn't change, you know. Yeah, what was on the outside changed, but I was just all like, I was like, I feel like I am equal parts feminine and masculine at the same time, that yin and yang kind of balance. And I'm like, I don't feel like I belong in any binary category. And so that helped me to really understand and like actually start research, because I didn't even have the language for it then. To research and start to find other people that identified as gender non-binary. And I was like, oh, I understand that. I was like, I feel that. I think there is this natural, I feel like for moms, you want to protect your child, because a lot of times it's not even so like you that you're worried about, it's the other people. Because that is kind of what I saw from like my mom, like in my coming out process. And like, it's funny because my dad was the one that was for my mom like, hey, Marilyn, it is what it is. Jaren is Jaren, you know? Regardless, at the end of the day, that's still our baby. You know, I'm the youngest, I'm the baby. Yeah. And I'm just glad that they now get to exist in a world in which these conversations are happening, where there's becoming more and more representation, so they can see themselves reflected in other people and stories that exist in television and media. I was like, because we were talking about Cycles, America's Next Top Model. I was saying that for me, my first representation that I saw of like a Black non-binary person was Miss J. And and how they so seamlessly introduced feminine pronouns, and it was just kind of like, okay, well, that's Miss J. And I never thought about how it's not that hard to grasp when you just kind of present it in a way and allow people to be like, oh, this is the norm, that's Miss J, this is what we call her. And for me, like that little thing helped me understand kind of pronouns in a much different way. And that was when I was in my little itty bitty town in Plainfield, Illinois, back in the early 2000s.
You know what? That is truly a really fucking amazing point, and something that I haven't thought about until this moment. But Caissie and I talk a lot about the importance of like just this sort of subversiveness of storytelling in pop culture and media. Like the importance of Drag Race cannot be underscored, right? But that is something, just even Miss J is the thing that like I never really even clicked into that. But you're exactly right. Like the not making it a big point, plot point, but just like, this is what this is. Okay, we're moved. Like, and now Miss J is going to mentor you on your walks.
No
let's
explanation needed. Just show it.
No explanation
Literally,
needed.
yeah.
Exactly. And so I love that. I mean, I love that we have you in our zeitgeist now to storytelling. And I'm very excited that you finally have that fucking crown that you deserve. Wait, where do you live normally? Are you in Chicago still?
I'm in Chicago still, live in the lesbian neighborhood because I really like being around the lesbians more than the gays. Those are just my people.
Okay.
Right. I mean, honestly, anytime you put me in a space, I will always gravitate towards the women. That's always been me. I'm like, hey.
But that's that part of you,
It
right?
is that
Like,
part of me.
you
I'm
just
like, that's actually where I just feel safer. So that, you know, that is what it is. I just naturally feel
me too.
safer around women. So
Same, girl.
Where like it's all about antiquing and brunch, you know.
I'm super excited about the acting pivot.
Theater is where it all started, you know, because it was just like I was a kid with a lot of energy and personality. And my parents were like, if you don't get the fuck out this house, you know, so they were like, let's do some plays, you know. And that was like where my love for like, oh my goodness, telling stories, like taking on characters, because I'm an empath, and I'm like, oh wow, you can actually really affect people and really grasp their attention by like telling these stories. Like I can that was like the first time that I started to feel powerful, like I could command someone's attention, you know, in a play or a musical. And I was just like, wow, that's really cool. I want to do that more.
Like, did you ever have Broadway dreams, or what was your when you were a kid?
Yeah, I did. I was just like too faggoty, so there just like wasn't really anything ever. I just wouldn't get cast in anything. And then like there would be,
you were like, unless like outside of like what, like Angel and Rent, right?
Yeah,
like
I even remember we did.
I mean, I'm not even kidding. Like that's
exactly, that's like it. We did. Oh my gosh. George C. Wolfe's The Wild Party, the musical, and there's two Black gay twin brothers who are incestuous. And when I tell you, every faggot was clawing each other's eyes out for those two roles. We're like, we're gonna play brothers and we're gonna fuck each other. But you know, obviously there's only two roles to go around, so I didn't get that one either. I was like, surely I was gay enough for that, but no.
No.
Yeah, but I did work in the costume shop on that one. It was fun.
Right. Because you did weren't you like that was your major, right? In college?
I did a BA so that I could do costuming and performance. So sometimes I would design shows, you know, and do like the tech side. And then sometimes, you know, I would be one of the talent. And that was cool because it gave me I was able to understand both sides of it.
It's interesting because, you know, no matter what you're sort of like, you know, as a queer person, or as like a blonde cis white person, like when you limit yourself to just one lane of entertainment, you really are just limiting yourself because people put us in like whatever boxes they want us to be in.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like you have to be able to be like, oh, I see your box and then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do this other thing for a minute and like you can catch up to what I'm putting out into the world. Right?
Yeah. And that's actually very similar to like the way that you phrase that is so similar to me of the way that I feel like RuPaul tells us to deal with our inner saboteurs, where you listen to it. You're like, yes, I hear you, but I'm going to go over here and I'm going to do this thing. And it is very that when people try and limit you and put you in your box, you're like, I see you. I hear what you're saying. Yeah. I get that. You know, I'm not blind, but I see something else for myself. You may not see it yet. I'm just going to go over here and do it. And then hopefully eventually you're going to turn around and be like, oh, okay, now I see it.
And Shea, I want to say that I love an epiphany. And you were saying that in your pivot, when you didn't win that season of Drag Race that everybody expected you to win, that you tried to get a lesson from it. And I think that I also learned an important lesson from that. And I remember it. And I remember thinking that the lesson for me is that sometimes even when you're the best, you don't win. And that it doesn't mean that you're not the best. It doesn't mean that you're not the best that you can be. And it doesn't mean that you're not the best out of everybody. But sometimes even when you're at the top of your game and sometimes when you're better than anybody else, sometimes on that day, you just don't win.
It's not your day. Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, you know, I even think about how many times Beyonce has lost things where she was literally, you're all like, who else is there? You know, and you know, you just have to remember that you're like, yeah, sometimes it's just not, it's not meant for you. And that is okay. And this is one thing that, and she didn't even come up in entertainment, but Kim Chi, such a level-headed person. I love and for a Leo too, so level-headed, I love her. When we were first, like little baby queens, you know, and girls are really competitive for gigs, Kim was always the girl that was just like, you can never be mad at a gig that somebody else got because it wasn't for you, you know? And she just really did put it simply like that. And I always just remember, because I'm like, there'll always be gigs, there'll always be opportunities. And yes, there'll be things that you want and you're looking at somebody else like, oh gosh, why didn't I get that? And you're like, the reason why you didn't is because it wasn't for you, baby. Because like you got to keep on working so that you can be like ready and poised to receive what is really meant for you. And when it does happen, you'll be like, huh, that's why I did the work. And that's why I like waited and kept manifesting this, because like now it's here and I'm ready and I can appreciate it.
That other thing was not meant for me. Yeah. I'm never having that career. Yeah. That's not my career. I have my own.
Yeah.
And your career is going to be one that I'm very excited to continue to watch build and build and build.
I'm excited too.
You're going places, baby.
I mean, beyond.
Well, thank you so much for having me. This was such a blast.
And thank you for talking with us. And we're going to talk to you soon.
Yeah, my absolute pleasure. Thank you both so much.
To start the show, I felt like, because I'm so obviously clearly nervous about this, I felt like I should go with someone that I've already interviewed 473 times. And so we asked my very good friend IRL, Ike Barinholtz, to chat with us about pivots in his life. Mark and I were just talking, actually, he's like, how many times have you interviewed Ike? I was like, I think
every time.
Between you and Seth, it's like, it's two close friends of mine who I've just said, they've asked me so many questions. They know the answers to.
It's so dumb.
You're our Tony Randall.
Oh my God. That is my dream. That is my dream.
You just come running in. You're always there for us.
Always there. Gary Busey's sick. Tony Randall's on the way. He's in traffic, but he's on the
way. So Isaac Barinholtz, as a close personal friend, if I do say so myself.
Yes.
I feel like I've seen some pivots in your life, more than one.
A couple.
Yeah, couple.
I had to.
Well, do you want to, what sticks out to you in thinking about that?
Because I thought about it, and to me, it actually kind of was pretty clear. So as we discussed before, I was on Mad TV. I've gotten on multiple flights by proving that. But I had moved to LA and I had met Busy and Mark, and for a year and a half or so, I was really struggling and a busboy and trying to just get hired. And eventually I got hired to Mad TV, and it was so exciting. And I was like young and got to, do sketches and stuff. It was really, really, really great. And when you do those shows, you had a 5-year contract. And I had come to the end of it. And at the end of the 4th year, I met this woman who is now my wife.
I was there.
Izzy was literally there.
I was literally there.
In Las Vegas.
In Las Vegas, guys.
Yeah, we're trying to think of a better story to tell our kids.
You're out of your mind. It's the
We're
best.
trying to be like, we met at the UN. We were both at the UN, and your mom was in.
No.
And it's like, I was like, no, Hard Rock Casino.
Hard Rock Casino, eating those like delicious nachos.
Oh, the best chicken nachos.
They were so good.
Legit. Anyway, so I met her, and she was living in New York, and I was on a TV show, and I convinced her. I was like, you got to move out to LA. I got to go do my show. And she was like, great, let's move to LA. She actually said, I'll do it. And I was like, wonderful. And so my contract was up on Mad TV, and I was, I remember like, I was like, well, I was talking to my manager, and I was like, obviously I'm going to, let's see what the offer is, whatever it is, this is the number I want to come back at. And their offer was nothing. They literally were like, no, there's no offer.
You're not coming back, sir.
Not coming back, basically. They were like, thank you for your service. I think the show at the time was really running low on money, and whatever. So
Michael McDonald got all of it.
They gave it all to Mike. It was a very not a fair structured con. If you see his house, you understand that. But I remember at the time too. It's really funny because I was like, my wife. It was for my birthday. Her and my parents had teamed up to get me a trip to the Food and Wine Convention in Aspen. Right. So we were in Aspen. My wife and I were staying at like the fucking Four Seasons and shit. And it was really beautiful. And that night, we had signed up to go to a dinner that Jean-Georges himself was cooking. It was insane. It was insane. And
Ike loves food. Ike loves food.
Love food.
This is his thing.
So I got the phone call from my manager before dinner. He's like, yeah, so it's not happening. And just right away, you're just like, I have no money. I went from making pretty good living to $0. So I was really freaked out and kind of pissed off. And I was like, okay, this is cool. This is great. I could just get a job on a TV show. Very easy to get a job on a TV show. It's regular. It's very simple. I've seen lots of people do it. I have friends that are doing it. Busy's doing it. Nicole's doing it. Everyone's doing it. I can do this. Great. Couldn't do it. Couldn't get shit. They would not hire me. And then I realized that, I don't know. On Mad TV, we made fun of a lot of other TV shows, and then I would try to audition to be on other shows created by the people who created those shows. So maybe that was part of it. Also, maybe I just wasn't good. I had been testing, how you test for shows. I tested for
Wait. Hold on. Guys, audience at home, if you're not familiar in the ways of Hollywood, Hollywood break, explanation break. Cause I didn't know this when I obviously started in this business. In order to get on a television show as a main character, they make you do something called test. It's like a screen test sort of. And you go in and there's usually one or two other people up for the same part and you do the scenes. It used to be really bizarre. They would make you go in person in front of the executives of the networks and studios. So you'd be sitting in a room looking at, who's the guy who got canceled from CBS? I don't even remember these motherfuckers.
That's
Yeah. So literally it would be all these suits and 95% men and 100% white and
in a boardroom and you're acting in a boardroom.
Yeah. And then you have to do your weird comedy scene with a casting director normally. Occasionally, if the actor was cast for the lead, you would get to read with the actor, but that was very rare.
It really is very stressful because
it's horrible.
It's horrible. You're up there with all these other actors and everyone's nervous and nervously pacing and you have some actors who are trying to they have headphones in, they're not listening. You know what I mean? It's just a very shitty, stressful situation. I tested for 25 shows. I didn't get one. I didn't get
anything that made someone a huge star or anything that was on the air. Did you lose your Noah Wyle on ER role or you know what I mean?
No, I mean it was. I wouldn't say no. Not on the test level. There were a couple shows that maybe went on for a year or two, but I auditioned for other shows. I auditioned for Chris Pratt on Parks and Rec.
Oh, you would have been great.
Yeah, he was really good though. I think he figured it out. He's figured it out. I know he's kind of disappeared, but I wish him well. But I think
he's disappeared?
I just haven't seen that guy since Parks and Rec. Don't know what he's up to.
That's a joke. It's a joke.
It's a joke. Anyways, I was kind of at this point where I was I don't know if I'm going to get hired as an actor anymore. And I had originally moved to LA with my friend Dave Stassen, another friend of Busy's who we text a lot with. And we had moved out there to write, to be writers and stuff. And I was like, well, I don't know, man. I'm not acting a lot, so maybe we should write. He moved back to LA, and the pivot was I'm just going to be a writer now. No one wants to hire me as an actor, which is fine. I love writing. It's like a joy when you're writing something that you love. It is the most fun job you can have. So we were just like, let's be writers. And we wrote a movie, and it didn't sell. Wrote another movie, didn't sell. Wrote another movie, sold. And from that point on, we're like, writers, acting's done, tried it, didn't work, full-time writer. And that definitely saved my life. The kind of the capper was, after like years of just writing and not acting, I got hired by another friend of Busy's, Daniel McBride, to be on Eastbound and Down, and that was the show.
How did that happen?
So
you knew him, or your friends, or you just auditioned?
No, it was crazy. I hadn't gotten. I went out for 25, 30 shows. Never got hired ever, and I was like, this fucking sucks. But then I got a call from my agent that they were like, hey, Eastbound and Down season 3 is starting up, and they need your name came up. God bless Allison Jones, casting director, wonderful human being, like the best person, the best at her job. And she brought me in, and I remember it was for The Catcher, right? First of all, I fucking lost it because that was like my favorite show at the time. I loved it so much. It was just like Danny just blew me away. I was such a fan. It was the first show that I was getting ready to audition for that I was a huge, insane fan of. Okay. So I will never forget, it was for the part of The Catcher, right? And who's like his best friend, who's like a twin, Jason Sudeikis ended up playing it. I fucking rehearsed it for so long, got in my car and was driving the audition, and my agent called and said, hey, flag. They already made an offer to someone, forget it. And I was like, I was heartbroken. I was like, okay, is there anything else? Is there any other part? I'll do anything. Even if it's like a line. And they're like, well, there's this part for a Russian pitcher, but it's Russian. Can you do a Russian accent? I'm like, yep, amazing. I do the best Russian accent. I could kill it. My dad's family was Ukrainian. I can't do a good Russian accent. All right. So I go home and I'm practicing on it and blah, blah, blah. I'm so nervous, and I'm obviously not going to get it. And I went to the audition a few days later, and there were real Russians in there, like who were like stacked, giant, like jacked Russians. And I went in there and I read with Danny and Jody, and I just kind of started. You know how those guys like to improvise, and they like you to, some people you go and you audition and they're like, stick to the script. And you're like, okay, all right. But Danny's like wants you to throw shit out. And he just started laughing, and I left there being like, that went pretty good. And then they called me, and I was over the moon. It was the first time like someone really legitimately like that I loved and I thought was cool liked me. I just want to be liked.
Yeah, obviously. That's all we all want.
Well, the thing is, back to the pivot is, that after we became writers and we sold a movie and we became established in the writing world as writers, I got this fluke job from Eastbound and Down, which Mindy Kaling saw, she loves Danny, a huge fan of that show, found me on Twitter. And so we became like, Twitter friends. And then when her show, The Mindy Project, was starting up, my partner and I had this kind of not argument, but for a long time, he was like, I want to staff on a show. I need to like work and be on a show and stuff. And I was like, if I staff on a show, then I'm for 100% not going to be able to act ever. And it was like the perfect situation where we got hired on her show as writers. So it was the writing, it was pivoting to the writing that, and then failing at that for literally many, many years, that I think allowed me to get what I still think is the best job I've ever had.
Wait, you weren't failing as a writer for years. You sold shit. It just didn't get.
Well, but for about a year and a half, we wrote like movies that like did not sell. Granted, they were not good. We wrote a movie about like three friends who tried. This is how time stamped the movie was. We wrote a movie, like a comedy about like three stoners who are broke and they decide to go kill Osama bin Laden.
I don't know. That feels like in the world of
Can we make
literally
it in
what?
Can we make it now?
Every executive, the thing is, we killed him in the movie, and every executive said, what if he gets captured and killed before this movie comes out? And we were like, guys, he's gone. You're never going to see him again. He's gone. And then 2 months later, Obama's like, ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Ike, I have a question for you because I think that you are such a unique talent. And I think that you are. And I think that, to me, part of the reason why you failed miserably as an actor the first time you tried is because you're your own unique talent that you were trying to fit into someone else's bullshit of terrible network television show guys.
There was definitely during that period, there was definitely a type of guy that was on every sitcom. And he was super hot, fucking hot, and jacked, and I quite don't fit that. You know, I just have look, I'm 43. I'm very comfortable. I have an interesting face. You know what I mean? I have big teeth, and so it's just I don't look like Jeff Stoltz was the guy that I would always see at auditions.
Stoltz,
He's the hottest guy ever. So at that time, that was kind of now I think now they're kind of looking more for especially for comedy, they just want to do whatever, just funny and weird, you know what I mean? But there was definitely that was the type of guy that I would always kind of go up against with and never get. Although I do remember at one time I auditioned to play Bob Saget's best friend on a sitcom, and I'll never forget the three people who were testing were me, Mark Curry. I don't know if you guys know Mark Curry, Hanging with Mr. Cooper. Yes. Mark Curry, right?
Sure. Love him. Yes.
And Jerry Burns. Amazing actor. Jerry Burns is from Dear John, but he was on Breaking Bad. He's
I love him.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
And
he's fantastic.
So the three of us are auditioning to play Bob Saget's best friend. So it's me, a 64-year-old white man, and a 6'8", 45-year-old black man. And I remember Jerry Burns comes in and looks at me and Mark and goes, are we all here for Saget's friend? And I go, yeah. He goes, well, at least they know what type they're looking for. It could have been so different. But anyways, to what you were saying, Biz, I think at that time I was trying to fit into my kind of weird round head into a square peg, and it just wasn't working.
But I just wonder if in letting go of the idea that you were going to work in that space, it gave you the freedom of being fuck it. And so you were just yourself moving forward on any audition.
100%. I really got to a certain point where I was trying to just like you said, I was trying to make those moves, but not really, still trying to do it my way. And that didn't work. And then at a certain point I was just I'm just going to be myself. If you want to hire me, great. If not, I'm sure there's other people, but I think everything I do is a version of me in some weird way. I'm just not one of those actors who can kind of chameleon and,
You're not a Michelle Williams. And you know what?
I'm not a Michelle Williams. I'm not a Michelle Williams. I want to be a Michelle Williams.
Can I ask you a question about when you were, making that pivot from acting to writing? Did you almost ever quit?
There was definitely a moment where I kind of I just thought maybe this won't work. I try not to get there too much just because at that point I've been doing it for so long. I'd been in show business for years that the thought of really kind of giving up. But I'm sure there was a couple moments where I'm hey, if this doesn't work, then I'm fucking done.
I have maybe this is too personal.
Then you should tell it and cut it.
Yeah. I remember very clearly. So you'd gotten married to Erica. I think this was just after you guys had been married. And you were teary about work.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And you were just I gotta do.
It'd be so funny. It'd be so funny if it was at my wedding, by the way. At my wedding, I'm I need more auditions. I just gotta
No. You just were it was the gist of it was essentially I was probably drunk. The gist of it was essentially I have to do right by my wife. And and I think you said, I just don't want her to feel like she bet on the wrong horse.
Oh my God, it's so sad. It's so sad.
And you were just like, I just, it's not even that I need to be famous. Like, it's not, I need to work. Like, I need
just
to
have
work.
health insurance.
I need to she moved here. She had a job and moved here for me. And like, I need to do this. Like, I gotta do this.
Yeah.
And I just remember being like, so, you're gonna do it, buddy. Like, I don't know.
You'll be fine. Don't worry. It works out for everyone.
I do think it's important for people listening just to know that there are those moments in even like people who you look at and you're like, oh yeah, that guy was on Mad TV, and then he like, you know, was with Amy Poehler in that movie, and he wrote, you know, and he writes these movies on the Mindy Project. That guy, like, he was great. He's like been working all the time. Like, there were real moments where you were unsure if moving forward in this business was going to work for you because.
For sure.
And you somehow found, was it helpful to work with Stassen? Do you feel like partnering back up with him helped like keep you both going?
I do. I think if you're fortunate enough to find someone who, above all, you agree on taste together, you have the same taste. If you have that person and that you're willing to work with each other, then you just know that you might argue about this or that, but at the end of the day, if you made a movie that was good, they would understand it was good and vice versa. If you can have that person just kind of pushes you. You know what I mean? It just kind of has a natural kind of like, because there's many days where I did not want to do anything except for like watch like old World War II in color videos. And
what are you, my dad? What are you doing?
I know.
It's the weirdest.
So weird. I just turn on the History Channel and just sit in my bathrobe and like drink coffee and smoke and watch like, goddamn, Rommel was a genius. You know what I mean? Just like so dumb. But to have that person who you kind of like, hey, you know, we're working today. Come on, let's go. It's good. It's if you can find that. Hold on to it and use it. Hold on, Dave. I'm going to hold on to you.
You guys are great together, and I think that like that bit always gets sort of glazed over when the end result ends up being like a lot of success. You got, you know, you wrote and directed your own movie last year. You're still, you know, you're selling stuff all the time. Like you're offered things as an actor all the time now. And I think that it's leaning into your weirdness and who you kind of really are is the thing that ultimately helps people find success.
I think that's the most important thing. There's one takeaway. It's like, do what feels good to you. Do what right. If you're writing something, what feels funny to you. Anytime we've ever tried to write to what we think the town would like, or this one person would like, or if you're acting and you're going to do this one thing because you saw another actor do it and it worked for him or her, you probably won't end up working out. And if it does, you'll feel it's not as deep as if it's something that's just you being you. Like we're living in a good age now where people like vive la différence. You know what I mean? People want to see fucking different people, and they want to see weirdos, and they want to see something other than we've been seeing for the last 100 years. So I think it's a very good time to embrace, guys, it's a good time to embrace who you are. I always say this.
It is the thing you say the most.
It is.
Love your curves.
You guys know my tattoo, right?
Well, Ike, you are truly my favorite.
Guys, what a joy. What a friggin'
what a joy. What a delight. This is my 47th interview with Ike Barinholtz.
The Tony Randall of Busy Phillips.
I am honored to be your Tony Randall.
All right, Ike, tell your family I love them.
Back at you. Love you
guys. Bye. I'll talk to you soon. Well, you guys, thank you so much. We love you. I hope this was enjoyable for you.
It was enjoyable for us.
I mean, definitely for me. I hadn't heard some of those before. If even when I was the one asking the questions. No, I'm kidding. But I did love it. It is fun, and it's so cool to revisit stories and like the little bits of wisdom that just creep on in. We love to see it. We love to hear it. We love you.
We love you, and we'll talk to you very soon.
We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for hanging out with us. Bye.
I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm doing my best.
Oh no.